What's cracking?
What's up, dude?
It's been a while.
It feels like it's been 6 months.
It's been 2 weeks.
I was waiting to get like death threats.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
where have y'all been?
I didn't get death threats, but I definitely did get some mean messages.
I got some. Even Kylie called me out. She's like, when's the next episode? Because I'm caught up.
Right.
And then we got one from Jacko messaged us too and said, what am I supposed to do on Monday morning?
Yeah, no. I was like, I don't know what you used to do like 3 months ago. Well, fuck, we ain't got that many episodes.
I was like, we're a household name.
Exactly. But only in like 3 households.
Yeah, right. Well, 32.
So yeah, we're back. Everybody, thanks for listening. And I do appreciate the enthusiasm that we've gotten from everybody that we're on hiatus for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That people were clamoring for more episodes, so we do appreciate that. So like, subscribe, share,
comment.
Go to our Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, you name it. So thanks for listening. So we're back. Just to anybody that's not in the know, I went on a family trip to Alaska last week, and not this past week, the week before, and so we were going to have Josh was going to have on a kind of a surprise guest person.
Yeah,
that didn't quite work out.
Yeah, it was a bit off. It just didn't feel right. We recorded, and no fault of hers. It just
spoiler was going to be
it was going to be Kylie and I, and it's mostly my fault because I didn't plan out any content, and with being with just Zach and I, past this would be like week 17. It just wasn't the same, and I stalled a lot, and then she did great, but our subject material just didn't work. It just so it was very rough, and I was like, we'll just take a break, we'll just wait, and then sure enough, we had to take another break. Had some illness come through, so
so I got sick. So I got back from Alaska, and I actually had a little bit of jet lag, which was kind of surprising.
You looked rough that day you got back.
It was thanks, appreciate it.
Hey, I'm just saying, I even told her what's wrong? I said, he's exhausted.
Yeah.
That's a long flight.
Yeah, it kind of got me, and I'll go through the details of that. But I never experienced that before, and apparently it can happen if you're flying. When you're flying and there is a more than 2 time zone change, and so I was a 3 time zone change, so it wasn't real bad jet lag, but it still got me. And so I ended up calling out a few days of work there, and then I think that weakened me, whatever it was, because I wasn't sleeping well. And I had indigestion. I wasn't eating well either, and I think I ended up getting sick because of it. Maybe it was COVID. I don't know. There was a bunch of people in our office that got COVID, and then so I probably did. I didn't get tested because I didn't care.
I mean, even if you do,
well, that's what
I do for you.
Someone was like, "Was it COVID?" I was like, "I don't know." They're like, "Well, you didn't get tested." It's like, what's the point? I already had COVID once. I now have immunities. So now if I have COVID again, what does it matter?
Well, I think some folks, and I'm not going to say everybody does this, but I think some folks probably, depending on what you do for a living, if you know you're not going to get paid for it, but you can take time off. If you don't feel bad and you're like, well, if I test positive, I get 5 days off.
I know.
So it's kind of like, and hey, if it's your time, it's your time.
Right. But that's the rub that I don't like is that they if you test positive, even if you're asymptomatic, you test positive or you get symptoms for one day and then you're good, and when you tested, they will make you take your sick time for 5 days.
That's correct.
And that's what happened to me last time. And I'm like, I was good after 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
But I had to take off 3 more days. And I was like, this is bullshit. I mean, if I had the time, if you have lots of time, great. A great excuse. I think a lot of people do that. Great excuse.
I think everybody needs more time off. I'm not against
Everybody uses it. I know it happens. People I got COVID. Sweet. I can be off work for a week.
Facts.
And they'll do it. But for someone who, I don't have any time left. I just went on a big vacation. I've had to use some sick time before, like when I had COVID for real the first time. I had to take off that extra time. So I don't really have a lot of sick time. So if them to force me to take 5 days off, I straight up did not have enough sick time. I would have to eat into my actual vacation time that I already depleted. Ain't doing that shit. So I was like, I'm not getting tested because I don't want to fucking know.
No, yeah. So on top of that, and then me at the recording, then the whole interaction with your cat while you were gone fucked me up. So I didn't come.
You were afraid to come back.
Well, yeah, we just had we have a weird relationship, and it just something happened.
So give me the rundown. So I think you need to give the listeners the rundown of what happened. So while I was in Alaska, I asked Josh to basically take care of my cat, take care of Steve, feed him, make sure he's got water, and scoop his shit and whatever.
No big deal. Yeah.
Whatever. So everything was going fine. So for the first half of the week,
Yeah, so
you go.
Like the first couple of days was fine. Like, Steve is skittish. It's not a big deal. He's a cat. It's only just you guys. So like,
He only sees me. He doesn't see other
He's
humans,
seen
really.
me, when we do this.
Right.
So everything was fine. All that was fine. Cleaned up. All that stuff's great. Everything was cool. I pet him a little bit. Did his own thing. Well, like day 3, I came over one night to check on him. Kylie was with me, and I came in the couch. He was just laying on the couch. I want to pet him. Just give him a little attention because you're not here. So I'm like, yeah, hey. And I love cats. So I'm like, hey, what's up, buddy? So I'm petting his thing. And as I was leaving, like I went to just kind of pet him. And I guess I got too far back on his back or something. And he like swatted the shit out of my hand and like it burned. And I was like, fuck. Like, he clawed, hissed, and ran. So I was just like, okay. And Kylie was like, oh. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's
my fault.
I was like, he does that. It's not a big deal. Like he swatted at me before. It's just kind of like, hey, I'm done with you touching me.
Right.
Cool. So I leave, come back the next day, that night. And I'm in here, and I'm cleaning, I'm getting his food out. Like, he's seen me a bunch. Well, he was acting off. He was, like, stalking around the corners. And I'm just like, okay. So I'm doing my thing. I go in here.
He's like pacing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, you get that kind of feeling like someone's watching. I'm like,
right.
This is fucking okay.
Like he's a jungle cat.
Yeah,
he's
like I'm in the scene. Yeah, right. So I put my hat down. I was like, okay. So I come in here, and I'm standing there. All of a sudden, he, like, squares me up like a bully in high school. He's in the hallway. I'm in your kitchen. And I'm like, are you all right? And he's just kind of crouched down. And I'm like, he's not moving. Like, he's holding his position. It's fortified. Right. And I'm like, this is a fucking joke. Like, he's never done this. He's not a big cat. But cats do a lot of damage. Very little. And it's your cat. It's my best friend's cat. I can't.
Yeah, they got like little needles for claws.
Yeah, and they play in their own shit. Like,
right.
This is tetanus all over it. So I'm squared up, and I'm just like, okay. So I he's in the way of me leaving. So I go a little forward. He comes forward. And I'm like, this is not, at this point, I'm sweating. And I'm starting to get mad. Like, because I'm
now
like,
you understand the situation.
Yeah, now I know what's happening. I was like, he doesn't want me to leave. He's squared up. I'm squared up. He has all the ground in the defenses. I have just like my voice. Because if I hurt him, I'm going to take him to the vet. I'm going to feel like shit. He's little. So I'm like, okay, great.
See, I think he wanted you to leave, but he didn't understand the situational awareness that you're in the way.
I go towards him. Here he comes. He's on the move towards me. And that's when I was like, get the fuck back, Steve, get back. And I like screamed, and he like panicked, and he ran away. Well, then like he wouldn't leave that room. So I had to go out your front door, which, by the way, doesn't fucking lock with the key.
No, it doesn't.
So I go out back. I go try to lock it, and I was like, great. Well, I go out back. I pull the door. So I get home, and Kyle's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I was just attacked. Like, Zach's house
like
is on
Jodie Foster
lockdown.
in The Accused.
I don't feel right. And it's just a regular house cat. I told her, I was like, this is dumb. I have a 100-pound dog at the house that I'm more afraid of your cat. So I'm like, I got to go back. I can't leave his house unlocked. It'll be the one time I do that, he gets broken into. Steve runs out. The shit's gone.
Right.
So I had to come back with a spray gun and a broom. And I come in here. It was like clearing a room.
All tactical.
I told Kyle, I would rather there be gunmen in this house than this fucking cat. Because you can't hear his feet.
No.
He sees perfectly in the dark. I am useless at this point.
They're natural predators.
So I come creeping in, and Kylie's all like, it's okay, Steve. She puts my headlamp on him at his eyes so they'll just glow. I said, just keep him blinded. Let me get this shit locked up. So I'm around the corner in our studio room, like checking corners. I'm like, he's going to come at me, and I'm not going to be nothing I can do. I'm going to get just like mutilated by a cat. So I've got the broomstick in one hand. She's got the spray bottle.
Well, if he like pops up behind you, he's like, shh, just let it happen.
Oh,
He
dude,
like,
I'm
slits
like,
your throat.
yeah. I'm just like,
He's got a Bowie knife.
Yeah, and I'm like, he's so strong. Fall over. Yeah, dude, the whole thing.
He's like, you're on my terminal list.
So then I was like, fuck this cat. I was like, I got to call Zach. I was like, I don't want to ruin Zach's vacation. Like, I'm going to call him. He's like, what the fuck you want me to do? I'm in Alaska. I don't know what you want me to do. And I was like, I've already committed to this. So I had enough food and water in here and cleaned him up in his litter box stuff enough that he'd be okay for 2 days. So I was like, I'm going to let you cool off. I'm going to cool off. I'll be back in 2 days. Right. So after that, everything was fine. But I had my spray bottle.
Yep.
The last day before you got back, I felt bad because I came around the corner. I was cleaning up. I was sweeping and stuff, just picking up. And he was coming around the corner, but not aggressive. But we both startled one another. Right. So he came in the corner just like casual, like stretching. And I was like, oh, shit. And he's like, oh, shit. Looks at me and he hisses and I run. Psst, psst. And I spray him, and I'm like, he'll be home tonight. Like, I can't be in here anymore with you. We just got tired of one another at the end. I think that's what happened.
I think it was because that's the longest I've been away since
dude,
he was a kid.
He was fine, man, but God,
I think
he was
just stressed.
Stress.
And he was like,
and then
you
a
finally
stranger with a squirt gun
Right.
and a broom.
he was just stressed, and every time someone would come through the door, it's you. And he must have been finally like at day 5 or where this was. He was like,
fuck this
fuck
guy.
this. I'm fucking this dude up.
Yeah, and it was scary.
I'm tired of this.
I have not
fucking
been
up doing
addressed
something.
by an animal like that in a long time, and I got to say, it was. I told Kyle, I was like, this is ridiculous. We're on the top of the food chain, and I said, his house is terrifying to me.
Not
now.
that day.
Like literally, I come in here, I had a headlamp on. It was like I opened the door slow, like I wanted a flashbang. Throw it in there, like oh shit. Yeah. So while you
have
had
to come in through the skylight.
while you had your fun, I had my fun here. He's easy to take care of. It's just I was like, God Almighty.
That's the reason I like cats, because they kind of like take care of
Yeah,
themselves.
he's fine. But yeah, that was my interaction with your feline wife.
And if you don't take care of them, they'll take care of you.
Apparently, yeah, your house is fine. I'm waiting for him to be up on the ceiling and shit. I was like, dude.
He's like crawling around like on the ceiling like he's possessed.
Yeah, because I'm thinking to myself, like, if he now knows how he's affected me, if I was him, I would totally instigate that every chance I got.
Right.
Like, if I was him right now, I would come up behind me and, like, brush my leg and then run.
Or you're like doing whatever in the house, and all of a sudden the lights go off, and you hear like,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got like tactical
I'm like, I look
night
over,
vision goggles on. You're
He's
like,
got,
oh
like,
shit.
his little paws got chloroform. Yeah.
Only dreams now.
Only dreams.
Except it's like, meow.
Yeah, but I understand it because
Right.
out of the fear.
Right.
Helps me translate it.
Exactly. You got this feline body language. You know he's there to kill.
Yeah, so I would much rather have been in Alaska during this time period than being attacked.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking care of him, but when you called me about that, I was just
You couldn't stop fucking
I
laughing.
couldn't stop laughing,
And then the
'cause
back
it
of
was
my
so
ears
funny.
were burning. I'm like, why are you fucking laughing? This is serious.
it's
not funny.
It was so funny. I wish I was here to watch it.
I was embarrassed.
Oh, that's just great.
Oh, yeah, I had to put my dad voice on and scare the shit out of him.
Yep. Actually, I got as soon as I got home, I told Steve, I was like, "Good job."
Yeah, I figured. That's fine. You got to praise him.
I was like, "Yes." It's like, Steve, next time record it, so we can post it. but yeah,
Dick.
so that was good. So yeah, while you were fighting for your life, I was gallivanting around Alaska, which was awesome. I highly recommend it. I guess I'll go through like just a quick recap of
Yeah,
of the
because
trip.
it's funny when you said you were going to Alaska, you always think like I go straight to Hollywood because Alaska always feels like this intangible place that I'll never go because it's a lot like it's you think
Right.
holy shit, but yeah when you put it in perspective, but the only I've ever seen about Alaska is like bears and like tons of snow obviously, and then the movies I've seen that all involve Alaska.
Yeah, I think I had that perception too, and then I had that perception of if you go to Alaska, I knew that during the summer, it warms up and it gets summer-like temperatures and whatnot. It can get up to 80 degrees in the 80s. I don't think it gets in the 90s, but it can get up to like 81, 82, something like that. And maybe a little bit hotter if they have a heat wave. But and that's in mid-July, and that's when we were going, mid-July, right? So that's apparently peak tourist season. That's the best time to go because of the weather, and most people traveling, they typically don't travel to, sub-Arctic temperatures. They want to have like a nice time, right?
I want below 60.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So that's when we were going. But in my mind, I'm thinking winter wonderland is what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
right? But it wasn't like that. I mean, it was everything was thawed out. There was no snow on the ground. The only snow that you saw was on the peaks. But there was mountain ranges everywhere. I mean, it's like you can't really travel anywhere in the parts of Alaska that I was in to where you didn't see mountains in the distance.
How warm was it on the warmest area when y'all were there?
So
if you had like a temp on it.
The week prior, it was like I said, it was like 80 degrees.
Is there any humidity up there?
No,
I'm asking
zero.
dumb. I'm playing dumb. I don't know anything about it.
Zero. And actually,
So would you compare that to Vegas weather almost? As far as the level of heat?
Well, the week before, it was that hot week I got there, a big rain came through.
Okay.
So it was actually very rainy the entire time that I was there. Luckily, every time we went out to do some sort of activity excursion, the weather cleared up. But anytime that we were traveling, a lot of times at night, which was crazy, it was raining. And sometimes it was raining pretty hardcore, especially further south. And also, when we flew in, we had to do a layover in Seattle, but we flew into Anchorage. Anchorage is a southern portion of of Alaska. You know, if you ever pictured Alaska on a map, you've got kind of like the main part of the state, and on the western part, you've got that archipelago, the western part that extends out into the Pacific Ocean, right? And then you got that stretch on the southern eastern part that stretches along Canada, right? And that's where Juneau is.
You said
down there.
So you said you
so
flew
I flew
in.
into Anchorage, which is at the southern part
tip.
of the
Okay.
like the main part of the state.
I pulled it up because I actually honestly didn't.
Yeah, so if you pull up the map,
I got it. Okay.
how much I might do that too. Pull up the map. You've got Anchorage is where I went into, and also, so I was like, we got in there. I was like, okay, it's raining. It's a coastal town. Okay, so generally, if you live on the coast, you're going to have a little bit more weather events, right?
So this is sad, and I'm gonna say, I hate to admit this with all of our people listening, but I did not. I guess I forgot that Alaska is attached to Canada.
Oh my Jesus!
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's fucking sad. I work on computers. I don't look at maps. Like, if there's fiber up in Alaska, I'll find it. But like, I just forget. You know, you don't. It's like if someone gave you the states, or whatever. It's little things that you don't do it.
Right.
Like, so, but by looking at these pictures, I was seeing where you flew in at, and like just getting an idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that fucking Canada? I was
Right.
like, ooh, you're a
Yeah.
dumbass.
It's right next to Yukon.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
And British Columbia on the southern portion of Alaska.
Got it.
So
Okay.
BC,
Well, that makes sense.
BC and Yukon is what it's attached to.
Climate makes sense.
Yeah, so we flew into Anchorage. If you I don't know, if you look on the map right there, you can see there's like mountain ranges everywhere. I mean, there was not a stretch of road that we were driving on where you couldn't see mountains.
That's some bitch is close to
and
Russia too.
It was like, you know, we live in Middle Tennessee, and so we've got a close proximity to the Smoky Mountains, right? And so that's the most mountainous that we see is the Appalachian range. Well, in Alaska, that's
Brooks Range,
that's
Alaska
common.
Range. It's huge.
That's commonplace.
Okay.
And it's 10 times, you know, it's a lot more. And also the shape of the mountain ranges are all, they're not V-shaped, they're U-shaped, the way the valleys and the mountains are, because U-shapes are from glacial drift. It carves a U shape into the terrain. And so the mountains were very cool. Like they would do a slow kind of U-shaped slope all the way up to the peak. And so it was very, very pretty.
Bro, that's way the fuck up there.
Yeah, it's way the fuck up there. And also, you can see that it's a third. The state is the landmass of the state. If you compile it together, is a third the size of the landmass of the lower 48. Right, so it's a big fucking state.
Man, I'm an idiot.
It's massive.
I guess I just need to look at a map more.
It's big.
Everybody's gonna be like, "That dude you got on your show is really dumb."
If you like look on the map from Anchorage to Fairbanks, right, which is you know probably the two cities people know the most is Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau, but we never made that far south to Juneau. So it was Anchorage to Fairbanks is 8-hour drive. So that's like from Nashville to the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
So just think about that, and if you look on the map, that's just halfway from. I think from Anchorage to Fairbanks is an 8-hour drive. From Fairbanks to Coldfoot is another 8-hour drive.
It's impressive.
And then from Coldfoot to all the way to the northernmost point in Alaska, well, probably not the most northern point, but where you get to the Arctic Ocean is Prudhoe Bay. That's another 8 hours. So it's like a massive state if you think about it, right? And you just don't think about it because every time you see it on a map, like it's off in the corner and it's just kind of, it's not proportionally correct or whatever, but it's actually a really big state. So anyway, we flew into our Anchorage and it was raining, and so I was kind of like, oh, this kind of sucks. Hopefully it's not going to be like this all week. And we did have a lot of clear days, but because of all of the rain and it was overcast, it cooled everything off. So the week prior, everybody was enjoying like 80-degree weather. Well, I was enjoying 50-degree weather. So, which was fine because I actually kind of had a little debate about this with the family about the time going, because I was like, I don't know if I want to go to Alaska when it's going to be 80 degrees. Because I'm like you, Hollywood. I'm thinking, okay, if I want to go to Alaska, I want to go to like snowy Alaska.
Yeah, like the movie Mystery Alaska, the hockey movie with
Right.
I forget his name now that I've brought it up. But anyways, yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Like
Right.
I'm huge snow mounds and full drive trucks and like people walk everywhere.
Right. And it just wasn't like that. Even when we went above the Arctic Circle, it also was not like that. Everything thaws out because now, of course, on the peaks, on the tops of the mountains, there's obviously snow, and a lot of it runs down through the valleys, and so some of it's still melting, but it's still some of it there. It's kind of like after a big snow here, you still have a little bit, kind of piled up, but it's slowly melting. So it was a lot of that.
It's like The Proposal with Sandra
Yeah.
Bullock. That's in Alaska.
Sitka. Yeah.
Yeah. So but you can see they went during the summer
They
months
went
like
during
that,
the
where
summer.
it was like, small jackets, but it was a beautiful landscape. There wasn't snow. It was more like woodsy. It was
Right.
Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which beautiful countryside. So yeah. Forgot where I was going with that, but because you interrupted me.
I know. Well, I had to. What I had to say was a lot more important.
What's more important?
You were there. I wasn't.
Right. Well, so no, I was going to say was that there is the reason why it thaws out pretty quickly is actually a lot of people there were describing Alaska doesn't have a lot of snowfall. You would think it's like foot after foot after foot of snowfall, but it's actually not that way. It's actually they have a pretty mild winter as far as snowfall goes in the area of the world that they're in. But because it's so cold up there year round, that except for the short period like 2 months of summer, and it's still only in July is it really like mid-July is it actually get like 80. Otherwise, it's like spring weather for us during the majority of their summer. That it just doesn't melt as fast, right? So whatever does fall just stays. But it's not like they have constant snow all the time.
They're
even
cold.
in the wintertime.
Their cold is scary.
Yeah. So, because what we had planned out for the trip was going to Anchorage and immediately we had to pick up this RV. So the way we decided to do it was instead of like doing hotels and cabins and all that bullshit, we decided let's rent an RV. So we had to pick up an RV from this dude's house, and they do it through this like. Basically, it's called RV share. It's like a ride share thing.
It's almost like Airbnb, but you borrow someone's
correct
RV.
Exactly. So we showed up at this dude's house who lived in Anchorage, and apparently Anchorage is also super expensive to live in. It's like a liberal city to like expensive to live in, like a big city. So like the house that we probably picked up this RV at was probably a $500,000 house, but it was like maybe a little bit bigger than mine. I mean, it was.
I get it. I see what you're saying.
I'm thinking, but it's just because it's just space and it's less people up there, so that maybe the demand. I don't know that it's not like they can just build high rises everywhere, right? For people to live, right? So it's all residential. Anchorage, I think, is the biggest city, but it wasn't like there were high rises everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It was a very small community.
Okay.
There's not that many people.
What size RV did y'all get?
It was a 30, 32, 36
So it was
foot,
big.
something like that. It was a big one.
All right.
It was a house. So, and my dad was the only one that was insured to drive it. So he was
From his CDL he had?
Well, it wasn't that. It's that he put his information in, but then they called later and said, you're going to have any other drivers? We also need to have their information. So he collected all our information, our pictures and IDs and all that kind of crap. Got it in too late, and there was like, I don't know, they sat on their asses and didn't get the insurance company didn't get it together, and that was a whole thing. So
he planned it
right.
that way.
So they finally like approved us to drive it like the day before we were going to leave. So I was like, go fuck yourself, whatever. So he was the only one that could drive it, and him being a former commercial driver, he didn't want to drive. Like he was done. Like he's retired from driving. He doesn't want to do it anymore. So I was fine with driving, and my sister I know was not going to drive it. But my mom would have. Not a big deal. But no, my dad ended up having to drive it, which that turned into a whole fucking thing. So, because I'll get into that, but like, if you've ever traveled with family, like, you love your family, but you can only take about like a couple of days before you want to, kill everybody. Right, especially whenever you're doing something that you're not used to.
Close quarters as
well. Close
well.
quarters, you can't get away. Right, and driving on the road, on trip, it gets stressful real quick, right? And my dad has this problem where he can't hear and he refuses to wear his hearing aid. So that makes everything worse because you're instantly having to repeat yourself. So here's an example of an event that blew my mind and it just pissed me off. Was we're going to this campground and we need to back into the spot, and also it's got the RV has a pull out, so we have to get it level, right? And so it's got these like blocks that you can kind of lift up all four tires in different ways, whatever, to try to get it centered. There's like a little leveling bubble there that you can kind of look at it, make sure it's like leveled perfectly before you bring the slide out. Otherwise, it can kind of get off track. So potentially can get off track. So it's just best to have it perfectly level. So we're backing in, and he's like, "All right, go get out and check the bubble, check the level." I was like, "Okay." So I'm opening the door to get out, and he puts it into reverse and backs up some more. I'm like, "The fuck? You just told me." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he puts it in park, and I'm like, "You just told me to get out and go check it, and then you're like backing up while I'm getting out." It made no fucking sense. So he does stuff like that because he's not like, I don't know, he can't hear what's going on. I don't know.
But he gave the command.
He gave the command. It blew my mind. I was like, what the fuck? So that shit like that with this RV, anything that had to do with dealing with this RV pissed me the fuck off. And also, he's like I said, he was a commercial driver, and so he drove an 18-wheeler, and he had a trailer attached.
A 53-foot trailer.
Right, a trailer. So he could back that thing up on a he could back that thing up, wheel it around, and no problem whatsoever, right? Without even having to turn around. Obviously, you can't turn around this big 18-wheeler, so it was all mirrors, and he's got it totally figured out. Well, on this RV, there is no trailer, but it's long, and so you think you have a trailer back there.
But it's just a truck.
So your commands that the way you turn the wheel is opposite. It's just like backing up your truck. But it just did not compute with him for the first couple of times he did it. He kept backing up thinking, "Oh, if I turn left, then that's going to turn the trailer right." And so he was doing it. He was backing up an 18-wheeler. So I'd be like, "All right, cut it to the left, to the left." And then he would start drifting to the right. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? Go to the left. Why are you going right?" It was driving me nuts. And so eventually I was just like, "I'm done with this. I can't." And so toward the end of it, I let my mom handle the directions on backing up because she got more patience with him with that. I was like, no, I ain't doing this. So it was mind-boggling.
Family vacation as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So that was probably the only hiccup in the trip, if you will. It was just the stress of this RV and
I've never traveled in an RV.
I gotta say, it was
I
dig
know
it.
people love it, but I've never myself been in one that big or even slept in one. I've never done any of that before.
Well, it's cool. So we were, like I said, we went from Anchorage immediately to Denali, right, which is about halfway between Anchorage and Fairbanks. So Denali is it's a park. It's like one of the largest like wildlife preserves on the planet, and it also has the highest peak in the continental United States, and the U.S. is Mount McKinley. It's called Denali now. In 2015, it used to be called Mount McKinley. They went back to its original name is Denali, or Mount Denali or whatever.
So did y'all stay in this thing the whole time?
The whole time
in the RV.
Well,
slept in the RV.
So when we flew into Anchorage, it was late in the middle. It was the middle of the night. It was like 1 a.m. something like that. So we just had to get a hotel. That was already planned out. So we got a hotel, and then we woke up in the morning and got an RV, and then did our trip. Right. So we spent 2 nights in the hotel. The first night that we got there, and the last night before we went out to the airport. Right. But all the rest of the time, it was in the RV, and so I liked it because if you're not the driver, you just get up, walk around. It's like you're in a living room.
That's cool.
Sitting at the table, I'm laying on the couch. I'm fucking, I'm
cool.
eating. I'm like watching videos or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can get up and then I can go walk right into and sit in the passenger seat and navigate or whatever. So you can, move around. Not supposed to, right? You're supposed to be in your seatbelt, blah, whatever. But that was bullshit.
Give me a break.
Most of the time I navigated, I sat in the passenger seat, and my mom and sister were sitting in the kitchen area in the table, just shooting the breeze, right? So that was kind of cool. I kind of dig that.
That's kind of dope.
And I took a nap, on the couch halfway through. Of course, you know me and naps.
Well, there's only so much you could do in an RV, so you're kind of
especially exactly.
Well, being traveling that much too. Like I wouldn't hate on a nap as much. I'd still give somebody shit about it, but it
Well, yeah,
wouldn't
if
be
you're-
as it
If
wouldn't
you're
be as harsh.
driving for hours on end, what else? That's the best time to take a nap.
That's
right?
true. Well, if you're
you
just
can.
sitting in an RV with your mom and sister, you're like, there's only so much I can interject in this conversation.
Correct.
I'm going to sleep.
Right. So, yeah. And there wasn't a whole lot of service. Service was spotty. I was actually surprised at some of the level of service I got in some of the areas. So, like, again, a Hollywood idea of what Alaska is, that's not what Alaska is. And when you get there, it's very modern. Like I said, they got 4G. It's got service everywhere. And here's how, quote, modern it is. There was one excursion we did where when we got to Fairbanks, we were really close to the Arctic Circle, and we had initially planned to drive the Dalton Highway, which is if anybody's watched the show Ice Road Truckers, that's what the Dalton Highway is. That.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
It goes from Fairbanks to Prudhoe Bay, where all the oil fields are. Right, that's like the main refinery or hub or whatever for the oil rigs out in the Arctic Ocean. They go to Prudhoe Bay, and it's it's all commercial. There's not really residential up there, except for the people that work there, right? The workers. And then year round they drive these trucks back and forth, bringing supplies. And so the point of the Dalton Highway, the ice road, is not oil. That's what the pipeline is for. The Alaskan pipeline runs alongside the Dalton Highway. So I saw the Alaskan pipeline.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's where the oil flows, and it flows 24/7, 365. The only time that they can legally shut it down for 48 hours max in order to repair it. Most of the time, they don't take that full time. So it is constantly pumping oil through this giant pipeline, which was cool.
Well, suppose there's
Right.
like more oil there than there is
Right.
in like Saudi Arabia. It's
So,
supposed to be like
yes.
crazy
So
amount of oil.
these trucks are constantly going back and forth on the Dalton Highway, and you're like, well, what are they carrying? Well, it's not oil, right? Because that's what the pipeline is for. They don't do oil.
It's coffee beans.
It's it's supplies for the workers. So they're constantly bringing up food for the workers up in Prudhoe Bay. If that stops, then work stops, then oil stops, right? So it is very essential that these trucks, are unimpeded. So that's one of the things when we were on the Dalton Highway that we had to, everybody that had to be in constant communication over CB radio that they were getting on the highway, where they were on the highway, and if a truck came along, they're getting the fuck off the highway.
Did your dad love that?
Well, so our original plan was we were going to go from Fairbanks, and we had this RV. We knew we had the RV, so we were going to my mom and my sister were going to have like a little day in Fairbanks, and me and my dad were going to get in and rent these SUVs that are rated for, they got CB radios and got first aid kits, and they've got good tires and all this kind of shit. And we were going to drive the Dalton Highway all the way up to the Arctic Circle, and they've got like a little sign and like thing where you can take some pictures and whatever.
Yeah.
But you can only go so fast on the Dalton Highway, and there's also all these rules, and you have to like give the big trucks the right of way and all this kind of stuff. So it was going to take like 8 hours, right, to do this drive because you only couldn't drive so fast, and the roads are not the best roads, right?
That's why there's a TV show about it.
Yeah, and that was one thing I did notice. Of course, up in Alaska is a lot of the roads, they're not great. I mean, because they're you can't snow half the time. You can't exactly.
It ruins all of that.
Exactly. So they're not nice, perfect little paved roads. I mean, they're very bumpy and kind of jagged, and a lot of potholes and that kind of thing. So you had to be careful. You couldn't drive very fast. So we were like, man, that's going to take all goddamn day just to go to the Arctic Circle. And take a picture and go back. But I wanted to do that because I'm like, if I'm going this far north on the planet,
yeah, I didn't know it was that far north.
I have got to go to the Arctic Circle, right? I can't get this close and see it and not actually cross it. Well, found a better solution was that there was this tour group that takes you from a flight out of Fairbanks in this what they call a chieftain. I can't remember the actual designation of the plane, but it's an 8-seater. 8-seater prop plane.
It's like a stick of gum.
Yeah, pretty much. It's bigger than a Cessna, but not much. And they will take you from Fairbanks a 1-hour flight up to Coldfoot, Alaska. And Coldfoot is a halfway point between Fairbanks and Prudhoe Bay, and it's basically a gas station for the truckers. Is essentially what it is. It's a service station, and they got a runway there, and it was a gravel like dirt type runway. So that was different. So when we took off in Fairbanks, it was normal paved. It was the international airport for Fairbanks, and that was fine. The dude, there was cloud cover, and he wanted to like, during this part of the tour, they would like point out certain things on the ground or whatever. So he had to keep us under cloud cover. So he was only like 2,000 feet off the ground. If you know anything about flying, that's fucking low. Okay. So I think the highest he got was 2,500 feet. So
y'all were a little
and
freaked
also
out.
and we're talking about the 2,500. We're talking about like from sea level, right?
Yeah.
So the ground is actually like closer than 2,000 feet. So 2,500 feet is sea level altitude.
Y'all are like video game flying.
Yeah. So like if the cloud cover was too much, too low, then he could not fly that low because he'd have to instrument fly, and they did have some sophisticated instruments, so he'd have to do all instrument flying, and if it was a really high, low visibility, you can fucking run into a mountain. Like, you could hit a mountain. So you just can't do that. So luckily it was clear enough to where he could actually stay right up under the I don't know, whatever you call it, the main clouds, to where we can see the ground. And he turned the plane so we can look out the window and see the ground a lot better. And it was really cool. Like, he showed us this one community that lives above the Arctic Circle that they only have access to. There's no road that goes to them. They only have access to supplies via seaplanes.
Oh, okay.
So people actually have to like fly it in there, or they dog sled it in there, which is apparently during the wintertime, that's like the mode of transportation. It's seaplanes and dog sleds, right?
I couldn't live there.
So vehicle, a lot of times in these areas, they actually ban, they don't allow you to have motorized vehicles.
Makes sense. Why not make it easier?
Right. So they, no ATVs and all that kind of shit. And sometimes they'll do some machines, but a lot of times it's still dog sleds and fucking seaplanes. People flying in on seaplanes. So it's just crazy. And it's like, I think a third of the population of Alaska have pilot's license or some shit, because they're everywhere. Everywhere.
That's cool.
It's like you'd be just driving down a community, and then all of a sudden there's an airstrip, and everybody's got like a plane in their backyard. Like, it literally is like that. If you see like a lake community or whatever, normally you'd see like boats. Nope, it's seaplanes. You see seaplanes along the lake communities.
I kind of dig it.
It was cool. It was very cool. So anyway, we get to take this flight, and when you get up to Coldfoot, the little airport that's there, it's like a dirt gravel type situation. So that was very different. Never taken off or landed on a dirt runway. That was different. It kind of felt like I was like smuggling drugs. You know what I mean?
Oh, like that.
In those
sci-fi
planes,
shit kicks in, and you're like,
right, exactly. I feel like I'm like, this is like a cartel plane. We're doing a coke run. That's what in the jungle. That's what it was like. That's what it felt like.
I like that.
So that was a cool flight. We get up there, and they've got a van where they're going to take us onto the Dalton Highway and take us a few miles down. It's another 30-minute ride to Wiseman, Alaska. And Wiseman is a residential community. It's only residential, and no commercial. And it's a population of 12. Last year it was 13, but a guy died.
That's one family.
A guy died. It was like 3 families, but yes. But pretty much, it's a population of 12, and they live above the Arctic Circle in Wiseman, Alaska. And we get there, and the guy is going to give us a tour. And the way that the girl that was driving us up there, she's part of the tour group, was describing it. She was like, "Yeah, you're going to get up here, and you're going to meet Jack, and be able to talk to him or whatever." I was like, "Oh, so we're just going to like go up into this area, and we're going to walk around the town, quote town, and there may be some locals there we can kind of talk to." It's not like that. We got there, and I was totally surprised. This dude does 3 tour groups a day, 7 days a week during this peak season for like 7 months, and which is crazy. And he is born and raised there. He raised 3 or 4 kids there above the Arctic Circle, and he's like a modern day Jeremiah Johnson, right? But he lives in Alaska, and he's invites us like into his house. Like, I was in his living room. He showed us like all the buildings. Like, he was walking all over his fucking property. Showed us his garden that he's doing for 2 months. It was crazy. And the thing is, like, you would think he's like, I was looking at some of these buildings, and I'm like, how the fuck do you not freeze to death? Because they're not like super well constructed. They were just kind of like, they looked like they were slapped together.
It's a shanty
And
town.
actually, in all honesty, a lot of the buildings had originally were built in like 1915 in Coldfoot when they were like looking for gold, right? Because that's when the gold rush happened in Alaska too. So they go up here to the gold rush. They build this fucking shack in 1915. And they were like, we're going to move up to Wiseman. And so they actually like deconstruct this building and then take it upriver to Wiseman and then rebuild it. And that's the building that's been there ever since. And he's living in it.
You're just like, this doesn't add up.
And I'm like, the fuck? It's crazy. And the stuff that he was talking about is, he lives a totally self-subsistent lifestyle. So before he started doing this touring thing where he made some other money and he got more commercial, but when he was growing up, they lived off the land 100%. They didn't see people.
That's some off the grid shit.
And we're not talking about like, in the woods of North Carolina. No, this is Alaska, above the Arctic Circle. So negative 40 degrees in the wintertime is routine.
Yeah, see that I can't fathom that kind of cold.
And he said a statement. He's like, people say, if negative 20, negative 40, what's the difference? Cold is cold. And he's like, well, think of the inverse. Someone says, 70 degrees, 100 degrees, hot is hot. What's the difference? There's a big fucking difference between 70 degrees and 100 degrees when it comes to heat.
Yeah.
Right? So in the inverse, think about it. Negative 40 degrees for him is routine. For someone like me, I want to fucking die. But then he says it gets down to negative 60, and he's like, that's where it hurts.
Yeah, like,
for
fuck
him.
you, hurts.
And
negative
apparently
60.
This past year, it got to negative 60 in Wiseman, Alaska, and he's like, that hurt. He was describing, he was like, I don't like to freeze to death. Who does? So he's constantly has a fire going in his living room in this wood stove. So when we walk in,
well, that's a different kind of heat.
he's got this,
isn't it?
and it's
Oh,
that
it's
thing
nice.
is fucking cooking. And when we were up there, it's peak summer, and they just had a rain, so it was, I don't know, almost 60 degrees, 55
Probably
degrees,
nice.
56 degrees. So it was actually pretty nice weather. I had a light jacket on just because it was raining, so I had my rain jacket on.
Sure.
So, but I wasn't cold by any stretch of the imagination. But he had this thing. It was like sweating me out of there. It was really fucking hot. But he says that he keeps on pretty much like that all year round. And he says that when it got to negative 60, he's like, sometimes we got to keep the door shut because he says you think you got this heat in here and it's really hot. He says if I open that door in negative 60 degree weather, that cold will come in here like a freight train. Along the bottom of the floor, you can visually see the air like freezes, right? That kind of thing. The moisture in the air freezes, and it's like comes through like a ghost. He says it'll come along the floor like a specter. I think is how he described it. It'll hit the wall, make a U-turn, and push all the hot air right out and suck it right out.
That's some Mortal Kombat like Sub-Zero shit.
It's like Sub-Zero shit. When he was describing it, I was like, can I come back and I can see that? Let's do it.
By saying that, I immediately want to instigate. Like, we have to come back.
I got to come back.
I want to see
this
this shit. That's amazing. I mean, you have 60 below.
Yeah, dude.
It got like 10 below here one time, and it ruined the entire season.
60 below.
And I can't fathom that kind of cold.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's throw water outside in it.
Yeah.
No.
So this dude's basically like walking us through a day in the life of him and his family and where he's come from, what he has to do, the differences, the things he has to do in the summer and the winter and all this kind of stuff.
Dude, your dad was enthralled with this, wasn't he?
Dude, it was.
I'm sure he was.
Meeting that dude
up.
was like meeting like a rock star.
It's
Because
awesome.
he is a one of a kind kind of individual. It's like there's not that many people that are like that.
Did y'all drink coffee up there? Did he offer you coffee?
No, you didn't have any drinks or whatever.
That's what coffee was. That'd be cool.
Coffee was actually really good everywhere, honestly.
Yeah,
everywhere we went,
incredible.
coffee was good. But all these animals that he's had to shoot, like he's killed moose, wolves, and we're not talking about like wolves like you see.
No,
like
these are big wolves.
The wolves in Alaska are the biggest wolves in the they're massive because they have no natural predators. They're big fuckers. And bear, they shoot black bears, grizzly bears all the time.
He is the most interesting man in the world.
Most interesting man in the world.
That's dope.
But the thing is, it's like I said, he's even up there. The dude set up his own 3G tower to be able to feed off of the local signal in Coldfoot, and I had service.
Hey, dude, that's all right.
Right, and he was where he's at oriented on on the latitude lines is the aurora borealis. He has 100% visibility. It's right above him, right?
That would be awesome.
Where the magnetic North Pole is, where the actual, I don't know, the solar winds or whatever, actually when it hits the atmosphere, it follows along the magnetic north and south
That's why it looks
poles,
like it ripples.
right? But it doesn't actually go into like a center point. It actually it's like a ring, right, where it goes. Well, have you ever seen the aurora borealis like from space, or whatever? It's a ring around the Arctic Circle. And so where he's actually positioned, it's 100% visibility. It's where the actual magnetic field is actually going back into the Earth. And so he's on that point. And so whenever the aurora borealis is going off, it's right on him. So he can see it 100%.
That would be amazing.
So he's like, if you go down to Fairbanks, they got like 80% visibility. If you go down to Anchorage, it's like 50% visibility or whatever during certain periods of time, 40% something.
I've only seen videos of it, but I'm sure it's amazing from where he is.
Right, and so he's like, he takes videos and pictures of it with his iPhone, and he knew more about like taking pictures with an iPhone 12. He had like the latest and greatest and shit, and like he knew more about his cell phone than my dad. Right, and dude's living in negative 60-degree weather above the Arctic Circle, shooting bears to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy.
It's cool, dude.
And then also, I looked off in the corner, and I noticed this too. And then one of the guys, people that was with us on the tour thing, he was like, I saw you got an Amazon package over there. You get Amazon up here? He's like, yeah, I get Amazon up here.
You're like, what?
Yeah, so
I like how he said it like, of course I do. It's Amazon.
Exactly. And so
fly that shit in.
The girl that drove us up there, she was a lot of people that were up there. We ran into a lot of this situation a lot. She will do tour stuff in the summer up in Alaska, and then we'll go down to like Hawaii during the winter and do tour stuff down there.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of people up there, it's heavily tourist, right? It's oil and tourism, right? So it's so that's what they do. And so a lot of people were in the tourist industry that worked up there, and they would have to move around and do different seasonal type tour stuff. And what she would do is we asked her, I was like, do you live up here? Like, I know it's your job, whatever. Do you like go back down to Fairbanks, or do you like? She's like, no, I live up here. It's like, I live here. They fly people in. I take them to go see Jack and Wiseman, and then I go back home in Coldfoot, Alaska, which is a fucking bumfuck Egypt hole in the wall. Like, it's nothing.
It's the armpit of Alaska.
It's a gas station. That's all it is. I mean, really, it's just a certain. And they stay there for free. They get free food and all that kind of stuff. And all they do is they'll get paid by the tourism company. And then I'm sure what a lot of these people do is they basically live for free. They get paid by the tourist company. They save all that because they don't need to spend any money. Also, where is there to spend money? Like
all you single dudes listening or women, take your shot. That might be an all right job during that time.
And then they can take 2-3 months off and go like,
bro,
whatever, fucking ice fishing or ice climbing like this chick likes to do. Does whatever the fuck they want.
Made that up.
So you got to be pretty tough to like live in those conditions. Dude. Like, I couldn't do it.
Oh, I don't want to.
Not. Absolutely not.
That's nuts.
No, it's crazy. And another thing, like the dude also, his mother like passed away like in 2014, and she just like buried there. And they were gonna like. They were like, when she knew she was about to die, and they asked her, "Is like, we want to, take you down to Coldfoot where the actual cemetery is. Further down there's like an actual cemetery." And she's like, "I've not wanted to live around people my entire life. Do you think I want to die next to them?" And so they just like dug a hole and put her there and planted some flowers and got a little headstone, and that's where she is.
That's all right. Hey,
middle of fucking nowhere.
That's all right. That's actually a pretty good sign.
Yeah, and so it's a residential area of 12 people. It's all families mostly, and it's like it was that guy who does the tours and his wife, and she actually like makes stuff out of like caribou bone and moose bone. I bought like a keychain from her, and like she makes
$700,
right? She makes jewelry, and you walk into this like. There's this like hut, right? This building, this wood building that looks like a fucking shack. You walk in and you have to walk past like they've got like ricks of wood right there, and so I was like, oh, this is like where the wood storage. And then you kind of navigate your way behind this maze of wood, and it opens up, and there's a little workshop there, and she's got like it's all displayed on shelves. It looks like a little showcase. I'm like, the fuck is this? She got little price tags and everything. It was like a real like kind of shop.
It's a real business.
Yeah, dude. It's some handmade quality shit they got going on here. And so I had to buy something. I was like, I gotta get something.
Of course you do.
You have to. And it wasn't cheap.
Nothing is.
The keychain I got was like the tip of a caribou antler. It's like $80. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm buying it.
You're like, I'm buying this.
And she like braided the thing herself. It was awesome. And she was in there. She's a little woman. I was like, I was kind of speechless on how these people live like that. But I just wanted to ask him. I was like, how the fuck do you do this?
If that's all you know.
That's all he knows.
If that's all you know. He
That's
probably
all
come down here and be like, how the fuck do you do this?
Exactly. So he gets off the plane like I did when I got back in Nashville. I got off the plane and I immediately started sweating. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't miss this shit. So he would probably be like that. He'd be like, this is dumb. So apparently he stays up there year round. He maybe comes down, he leaves Wiseman once a year. And usually it's to do some sort of talk or meet up with some legislators or something like that because he's apparently very into conservation. I mean, obviously,
he's living
and
it.
he knows like a lot about the Dall sheep population because apparently they're like have gone through some trials and tribulations with their population or something like that. They're almost in danger of some crap. So he's very much into the conservation movement. So he's in that, and his wife, she probably leaves Wiseman, goes down to Fairbanks like once a month, something like that. So I don't know how these people live like that, but it was really cool to kind of like be a part of it.
That'd be the best part of the whole thing, really.
That was peak. That was just amazing just to see all of that. But when we had to fly back, we actually got cloud cover, so they actually had to do an instrument takeoff. So what that means is that the clouds, it was full fog, cloud cover all the way down to the ground.
So you can't see anything.
So you can't see shit. So they had to take off in this. And so it was an instrument takeoff. It means they're using, there's no visuals. They had to just use their instruments to be able to adjust everything and take off. So we took off immediately into cloud cover. So that was fun. And this little 8-seater thing.
I would just have my head down.
And I'm sitting in this like seat in this 8-seater, and it's like I was sitting in a chair made in a school desk made for 8th graders. I'm in this little. It looked like Billy Madison.
I don't want to go this way.
Right, it looked like Billy Madison in the first grade when he's sitting in the little chair. That's what it was like. Right behind the pilot, like I could choke him out if I wanted to, but I didn't.
Instrument only.
It wouldn't be good, right? But my dad also, for the listeners who don't know, was a trucker for like 15 years, but he was a pilot for 35. So if something happened, it would be good. Yeah. But when we were going up there, that was only 2,000 feet above the sea level, above the ground. So if something happened, you're fucked. If the engines go out, you've got very little time to make any kind of adjustments to try to find somewhere to land. You're going to crash. Well, when we had to do the instrument takeoff, the cloud cover was a lot lower, so we just had to get above the clouds. And so we actually were 9,000 feet above in the air. 9,000 feet, you got a lot more buffer. So if something happened,
right,
you got time to make an adjustment.
You say what I need to.
Exactly. Well, yeah. You can have a little bit longer of a prayer, I guess.
There you go.
But, you can kind of, coast and figure out how how orientation and try to find somewhere to land. They can guide you in, all this kind of shit like that. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But it was a little shaky, and I actually lost my lunch a little bit. So I was like, ugh. Well, actually, it was on the way up. I didn't eat because I was worried. I was like, I know this is going to be a little bumpy. It's not like it being a 737. Like, the winds affect this little thing a little bit more than a giant
of course they would.
Airplane. So I didn't eat. Well, I think it was because I was on an empty stomach. It made it worse, and I was just like, I was doing the whole breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. It's like, come on.
Like, is that guy pregnant?
It's like, don't throw up on this fucking plane. Because there was nowhere. They had a puke bag, but it was cramped.
And I puke really loud.
Yeah, so me too. Yeah.
Anytime I puke, it sounds like I'm dying.
Yes, 100%.
Like,
me too.
I might as well actually just scream like, "Don't be alarmed! I'm going to throw up."
Right.
And I sound dumb.
Oh yeah, and
it's so loud.
I'll like puke and then cough into it. I'll be like,
oh yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of
like,
right.
And like my back's arched.
Like a cat.
Oh, dude, it's terrible. And my face is red. I'm like, you look.
I start crying.
Oh, dude, eyes are watering. It's terrible. If I didn't do that in front of people, I'd be so embarrassed.
It wasn't good. So when we got up there, though, they had lunch, and I was like, I was fucking starving. And what I ended up picking,
like,
not thinking about it, was a damn tuna fish sandwich.
Ooh.
So I was like,
dude, you really didn't plan that one out.
Fuck it, let's just do it. I was like, I have to eat something. So I ate this tuna fish sandwich on the ride up to Wiseman. And then spent an hour or two up there, and then came back, and then finally was going to take off, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be bad. So it was actually probably a good thing that it was an instrument takeoff, and there was a lot of cloud cover because we got 9,000 feet above the clouds. It was a lot more smoother ride.
Yeah.
If we were under cloud cover, hitting all that, bad air, I probably would have puked tuna all over the pilot's neck.
Ooh.
It probably would have been good. It wouldn't have been good.
He would have just thrown your ass out.
Oh my God.
Get out of here, tuna boy.
Oh yeah. Oh
Fuck.
God. It was something else.
Sounded like you had a good time.
Yeah, it was dope.
That's really cool.
The other two main excursions that we did were after that was the northernmost point. Went back down to Fairbanks, and then we drove all the way down past Denali, back down to through Anchorage or kind of near Anchorage, and kind of went further south in that area. We went to Whittier, Portage, and there was another place. But the next big event was to do a dog sledding.
Yeah,
which was cool. So that one was a fun day. We took this helicopter, flew over some glaciers, and then went up and on top of a glacier that was on the mountain, and it was like sliding off the mountain and breaking off as it slipped off. Big, massive glacier. So we're up there on the top of the glacier, and then is where they keep the dogs. And the guys that run the dog sled thing just fucking live up there. That's the thing that baffled me about this. It's like, this is their job for tourism or whatever. I'm thinking like, okay, at the end of the day, they take a helicopter ride back down, they go to their apartment, right? No, they just live in a prefab like shipping container type thing, and they just live up there. Like as soon as they're done for the day, like, all right, I'm clocking out, and they just like go in this like basically porta-john with a bed is what it looks like.
That's like the dirt bags that do the whitewater rafting. They live like in a It's like a shack, and they live there for the summertime, and it's gross, and like that's what they do though. So they like smoke weed, raft, and go back to sleep. That's
pretty much. Yes.
So those guys, sled dogs. And
and these guys are they're rough looking. They they all have like Duck Dynasty beards kind of thing going on. Like it's
very welcoming,
very rough. And one of the dog sled guys was telling us like, sometimes they'll grab one of the dogs and they'll have the dog sleep with them. It's to bond with them or whatever. And it's just like, I mean, the dog's not like, house dogs. I mean, they're sled dogs.
They're working dogs.
They're athletes. They're working dogs. They're probably gross. They're not like they're bathing them every day. So I don't know. I couldn't.
You're like, I don't want to do this job
couldn't
ever.
do that shit. No. So that was really cool though. The helicopter that we took up was all like blacked out, and it was brand new, and it was fucking cool. Except
it's like
trying to cram forces. It was fucking cool.
It was like a little bird type thing.
No, it was it looked like a life flight helicopter. Have you ever seen it like a stand bigger?
Okay, yeah.
But they did have like the little bird looking ones. I don't know what you would call them, but it looks like a little bird. The fuselage, and then it has like a long shaft coming out the top, and that's the propeller. You've seen it before.
Yeah,
like you see like snowboarders.
I've seen them
jumping off. Yeah. Right, that's what they had a lot of those, but ours
looks like a training helicopter.
Yes,
yeah.
So ours wasn't that. That was for people that were just going to do a glacier tour. They're going to like take them up somewhere where they can hike or whatever.
So you felt like you were on Call of Duty.
I was in the cool. Yes, exactly. Fuck. I was like, I need to be hanging outside of this thing with a
machine gun.
Yeah, with M60. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right. It was very Call of Duty like, and the pilot was really cool. And I was thinking he was probably like prior military. He was like, no, I've only been flying for 5 years, doing this job for 6 months, all commercial, like all private, never military experience. I'm like, and you're flying on glaciers? Like,
he's like, yeah, you can find me on Indeed.com.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much, yes. Exactly.
That's cool, dude.
That was a really cool ride. I've never been in a helicopter before, so that was cool. And the thing is, like, immediately it was like vertical takeoff, and we're like a couple 100 feet off the ground. He's bobbing and weaving between like mountains, and then he picks up some altitude to land on the glacier, and he comes in like wide, all sideways, and like, and then slows up.
You feel cool.
Picks the nose up, and just, I mean, he's coming in hot, and I'm like, how the fuck? And then it all of a sudden it just slows
like
down,
a little butterfly,
and just lands perfectly, like on a pillow.
You're like,
right?
Yes.
And I can see in the distance. I'm like, what is that? There's people, and there's like, you can see like the little dog house is like igloo shaped, where the dogs are, and they're like lined up in a row, and you see this like camp way off in the distance, and then you're coming in on this dog camp. It was a really cool
Oh, dude.
It was very Call of Duty-ish, right? Really cool experience. Get out, and they take us around on this track on top of the glacier to where I actually got to ride on the back of the sled, and I actually had to work the brake. There's like a metal bar with some prongs.
Did you say mush?
They don't say mush.
That's bullshit.
I said mush.
Okay, good.
Right?
I said that's
of course,
the whole.
Whenever I was driving and in the back, of course, the instructor is in another sled I'm attached to him, and so he's in the actual
Like a tandem type
tandem type thing, and so he's actually like directing the dogs, and I'm just basically the brake. And but whenever we're about to take off, I'm under my breath, kind of like at the end of Endgame where he's like, "Avengers, assemble." I was like that. I was like, "Mush."
Oh, good for you.
I had to say it.
Yeah, dude.
Right? But basically, all he says is like, "All right, boys, let's go." And they would go. That's all he says.
This is lame. I need you to say mush.
Right. So that was cool. They don't go that fast. I thought they would go faster, but he says they're built for long distance. Right? And these dogs, I forgot to mention, were championship Iditarod dogs. They're championship winning dogs. These dogs do the Iditarod, which is that dog sled race.
Yeah, I heard about it.
It's like 800 miles, right, during the winter, fall, winter, whatever. And so, these dogs are the
best of the
best. Best long distance athletes in the world, better than any human, right? They're little mutts. They're actually not recognized by the Kennel Society for being like a thoroughbred, pure breed dog. They're an Alaskan Husky, but they're just a mix of different things. So they're basically a mutt, and they're small, scrawny little things. And I'm like, how the fuck do they do this? Like you would think when you think when a sled dog, you think this big, hulking husky. No, it's like a little mutt dog, like you see on the fucking street.
But
it's crazy.
But they get after it.
But they are fucking crazy, and they only go like 8 to 11 miles per hour. But because they're built for long distance, right? They're not built for speed. But he says, because I asked him that question, I was like, how fast have you gotten these things on this sled? He said, one time I got them to 25 miles an hour on this sled.
That's fucking cruising.
Right. And he says, if I didn't have the sled, sometimes we're just working them out. I'll be on a snow machine. And I said, sometimes these dogs can run 35 miles an hour. And I'm like, fuck.
Dude,
right?
That 25 is fast.
Yeah, in the snow.
In the snow. And that's them running together.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts.
And so we had 12, I think it was 12 dogs. And it was like 6 mushers. There was like 2 that were kind of like in staggered formation. And they were like the wheel dogs, apparently. Like they can... So since they're in a stagger formation, I guess they can turn or something like that. And then you had the 2 leads.
Is that weird seeing that many dogs working together?
Yeah, it was crazy. And they could do commands because there was like on the path there was a left and a right, and so he would have to give them a command to make sure that they knew to go to the right trail instead of the left trail. And so he said that what they'll do is they say H's and G's. So they'll say hey, 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 which is H, and then G, 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 G.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's left and right.
That's cool.
All right, so he said anytime they're off track, the Iditarod does have a trail pretty much, right? So they pretty much stay on trail, but sometimes they have to get off trail for whatever reason. So if they get off trail and they need to like trying to go in a direction, the lead dogs just kind of go where they go. Like you have to go where the dogs want to go, but you can kind of direct them. So he'll say G's and H's to get them to go left and right. A good lead dog will understand. Okay, he keeps wanting to go to the right here, and then he tells me to go left here a little bit, and the right here. I think the human wants to go over here to that landmark, and they'll pick out the tree or the mountain or whatever, and they'll start heading for it. So you can kind of
that's cool.
Navigate the dogs a little bit, which was cool. They eat like 10,000 calories a day for this little 50-pound dog, and it ain't much, right? That's a lot of fucking calories, and it's all like raw chicken, fish, moose, whatever the fuck. A lot of times it's raw chicken because it needs to be lean.
Oof.
But he says sometimes if it's a little bit colder, they'll give them something a little bit more fat. Right? It's all like calibrated. They're athletes. They're mega athletes, is what they are. They're little mutts, and they're friendly as shit. Of course, the people that pay for the tourism to go up and do this little trip that I did pays for these dogs to do the Iditarod. So it was a very essential part of their yearly training thing. Is it keeps them active, right? But also pays the bill, keeps the lights on, allows them to do this and run the Iditarod. So it's very important that people go up there and visit and do these tours. Yeah. And I highly recommend it. If you go to Alaska, definitely go above the Arctic Circle and meet Jack Reekoff in Wiseman, Alaska. It's hard to describe. It's you're never going to meet another person like that in your entire life.
Well, shout out.
You got to. He's actually, like I said, he's very plugged in. He's actually on Twitter and Facebook.
Of course he is.
And he's newly on Twitter, and I'm like, I follow him now. I'm like one of 17 followers.
That's really cool.
Right, so
that's cool, dude.
Definitely go see him. Definitely go do the dog sled thing. That's awesome. You get to meet the dogs. I got pictures with them. They actually walk you up the line, and you get introduced to each one of the dogs, and you kind of like pet them and everything like that. And then they take them off the chain, and they go back to their little huts. So that's really awesome.
That's where you have to pretend to be a dog person,
right? They're really cool. They're mutts though, and they're matted and all kind of
they eat raw meat.
Eat raw meat. They're not.
rough.
They're not house dogs at all. They're not
blue collar dogs, man.
Yeah, they're not these fluffy looking Alaskan Huskies like you think. They're not that way at all.
It's working class dog.
Working class dogs, blue collar dogs.
That's cool.
Yep. So that was cool. Then took the helicopter ride back. He kind of took us over some glaciers, which the glaciers up there were something else. I just never seen anything that big just snaking down the mountainside like that.
I've seen it on Nat Geo, but I couldn't imagine seeing it in person.
It's amazing. So after that, we ended up going. We did like a little day trip in Talkeetna, Alaska. It's like a little river town, and that's very touristy kind of area. And that was a rainy day. But that was kind of our rest day. That was fun. Talkeetna was nice. And then the last day, our last excursion before we had to take the RV back, was a glacier tour on a ferry, essentially a ferry-like boat. And it was going to be an all-day thing. It was like an hour thing. They also provided like lunch and dinner. So we. And this was to tour glaciers in that area, in the Portage, Alaska area. So Portage, there was like multiple bays that we went to. So that was really fun. They took us out. We saw porpoises. We did see one orca. We saw a lot of harbor seals, which was really cool. Those are the little ones that the orcas eat that you see on Nat Geo all the time. Those are harbor seals. That's the ones you see, like you said, the orcas slapping around and whatnot. And then we got to one of the glaciers that's called Holgate Glacier, and that was really cool. Got really right up close to it. It's a massive fucking thing. And then I actually got to hear it crack and pieces fall off. And when you hear it crack, it's loud, and you think like, oh shit, the whole thing's coming down. That's how loud it is. And then you look in the distance, and you see this like little chunk just like trickles off, and you're like, the fuck?
Get the boat out of
Get out of here. You think it's going to be this big tidal wave. You hear it sounds like the whole thing's coming apart, and you're like, but it's just a little bit.
Like panic.
Yeah, dude. It was really cool. And they actually like picked a piece of ice out of the water, and like they actually like made drinks out of it. So they like picked some glacier ice out of the water.
That's cool.
And then you can make like a cocktail out of it. And so I had like a cocktail made out of glacier ice.
Glacier.
Yeah. Which was cool. And then we were going to go. There was going to be more glaciers on the trip, but we ended up doing a detour. And the captain was like, says, I'm known to do this. So sometimes, we'll get stuff. We'll hear stuff on the radio. It was a woman, so that'd been really weird if she pulled her cock out. Right. But I actually saw her. She was actually really cute. So I was like, I think I'm gonna move up to Alaska and become a seaman. But I'll be her first mate.
Oh, he's talking about sex. That's
yeah,
cool.
Exactly. Fuck on top of a glacier. It's been hot.
It's cold.
You want to get up there and melt that glacier? But whatever. So anyway, they'll get calls on the radio for like different stuff that happens out there on the water, and they'll go off plan to go see it. So that's what happened with us, and this was a very rare sighting. And it was we actually went way off the detour, off plan of the we didn't see any more glaciers. We saw that one glacier, and it was a pod, or I don't know what we even call it, school of a group of 13 humpback whales.
I think it's called a pod.
Pod of humpback whales, and they were doing a special technique that is rare to see, called bubble netting.
Oh, it's really cool.
Which was cool as shit.
It's wild looking.
So they did it a lot. Of course, so bubble netting, to quickly describe it, is what they'll do is they'll dive really deep, around a school of fish, and they'll do circles around the school of fish and also create bubbles. And so what that does is you have this like column of bubbles that is like pushing the fish in a closer proximity together. And so you have this like large column of fish underwater that are being kept together with the bubbles and the whales swimming in circles, right? And they push them all to the top. And as they get to the top, they all start eating. So they come up and they breach the water with the fish all up to the top, like a net. And they eat them, and then they go back down, and they do it again and
crazy.
again. And how you know where they're going to be is the seagulls have figured this out. They're like, they can see from up above, they can see up under the water to some degree, and they can see the fish coming up. So like, oh, go over here. So you know when the whales are where they're gonna breach because all the seagulls crowd right to the one area, and they're actually called short-billed gulls or something like that. Not actually called seagulls. So then the whales come up, they eat the fish. They also sometimes get a seagull, but then they'll spit the seagull out. So apparently they know the difference.
That would be terrible.
Right. So they said, yeah, sometimes they get a seagull and they'll spit him out after a few seconds, and the seagull, he's fine, but he looks all like, what just happened to me? Right, he's all like,
well, you saw where those
feathers are all matted up.
Kayakers got swallowed up,
right,
and then spit back out.
That just happened recently. So apparently, yeah, the same thing. So
hey, I don't feel bad for you. Fuck you if you kayak in the ocean.
And
sorry.
If you've seen that video, you see how fucking big those things are.
Yeah,
so I
massive.
saw like 13 of them breaching the water, and of course, when they dive under, they've got the big tails that pop out and slaps the water and goes down. That was fucking cool as shit to see. And also, I got to see multiple, and I got it on film multiple times where they actually jump out of the water, turn, and slap under the water and create a big splash. That was
to me,
cool.
that would be like surreal.
It was.
Like, it would be like almost like a dream, because not in the sense that like my dream is to see humpback whales, but like just that something you see on computers or on movies, you're like actually seeing something that big do that in that water is unreal.
Yes. And a couple of times when they did a breach, and then when they did the bubble netting, and they also breached out of the water and were eating, we were like 100 feet from them, because I think the rule is they're when these boats are out there, they're
a protected
species. They're not supposed to mess with them, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like the captain was like, oh, look over here, let's go get right next to them. They're not supposed to do that. They have to stay within 300 feet, I believe is what it was. But if the whales move in their direction, they're supposed to kill the engines, and they just sit there and wait for the whales to pass by. So that actually happened to where the whales started moving in our direction. She was like, they're within my 300 feet range, so I've got to kill engines and wait for them to pass and get out of range. And so they got within 100 feet of us and did the bubble netting thing, and I saw it was right fucking there. And it was crazy.
That would fuck me up something that big.
It was crazy. And then one of them breached out of the water, and it was too far away for like the splash to hit us, but it was, just seeing
hear it and see
a creature that swims pop out of the water, and it's that fucking big is just crazy.
It's nuts.
It was nuts.
That'd be awesome.
It was nuts. So that was a once in a lifetime type thing. So then after that, we ended up going to Fox Island, which is an island out there in the bay, and they got like a whole like a cabin, like big cabin cafeteria looking thing, and we all like ate dinner there, and then went back home. So that was pretty much like the end of the trip, and then the next we had to get rid of the RV and then drop it off, and then we flew out of Anchorage at when we fly out. We had to stay in a hotel, and we had to get up. And we flew out at like 4 a.m, or something like that in Anchorage. So amazing trip. Definitely want to go back. Some things I would do if I went back is I would do snow machines. I'd probably take the train. There's a train that goes around.
Ooh,
very
like
expensive.
Polar Express.
Kind of like the Polar Express type thing. But it's it's a short train. It's just for the commuters, and it's got observation cars. It's like the double decker thing with the glass.
Yeah,
on top,
that's
right?
cool.
That would be really cool to do. And then I would also fish. We did when we were in Anchorage. There was a river that we went down to where people were fishing for salmon, and so I could have done that, but I really wanted to like get out there in the wilderness.
I want to wade in the water.
And the people were doing that. You could rent some waders and a pole, and you could actually.
We
fish
did
them.
that last
but
year.
There was
not
like,
in Alaska.
There was like 30 people right there, and I was like, no, I want to do like out in the wilderness type, like some real good fishing.
Yeah, we did that last year at the Kenny Fort. We were in Alaska, but we wade fished, and it is. If you don't catch anything, doing the wade fit, that's the shit. It's
so
cool.
I'd want to fish or hunt or something like that. Do something like that next time. So I definitely am going to plan another trip at some point. I don't know when I'm ever going to get back because that was not cheap. But surprisingly, I mean, you could do it if you went with a group. It's
well, just if you do it every year, you have a year to save up.
Yeah,
I mean, if it doesn't, do it every 2 years.
Oh yeah,
it's doable.
Now, one of the things I will say that I enjoyed, but I understand that it would be completely opposite the other half of the year is that the sun set at 11:45 p.m. But it never fully set. It was just below the horizon, so it was dusk. Like still kind of light out, right? Like it is dusk from, midnight to 4 a.m. when the sun actually came back up. So it was light all day, which I like because I don't like to fucking sleep. I want to just keep doing things.
Well, yeah, but that would almost promote it, stay up.
Right, pretty much. I mean, I was walking around the campsites and stuff like that, 10:30 at night, just having a walk.
So weird.
It was awesome, and it was fully daylight. I had no fear. I walking in the woods. I had no fear of getting dark and getting lost or anything like that. Although it was one point I was walking down a trail late that night, and I forgot my knife and bear spray, and I was by myself, and I was like, I don't know. A bear seriously could come out of here, and I'd be totally fucked.
He said.
So I turned around. I was like, I'm going back for the bear spray.
I like how you really thought maybe I could handle myself if I didn't have these tools, but probably not.
Probably not. I had no chance. It's not like, you went on a walk in Tennessee or,
It's not like a house cat.
Right. It's not like, you are more likely to run into a bear of any trails in the world, in the country. This is where you would run into one, right? So I was like, I'm not doing this shit. So, but I didn't see one grizzly bear, not one bear.
I don't want to.
I was there. I kind of want. That's one I wanted to see.
At a distance, sure.
I wanted to see one.
Not walking a trail without my bear spray.
Saw some moose.
They're massive.
But I've seen moose before when I was in Maine. So
that's a huge animal.
Yeah, it's a big animal. But humpbacks, I think that was the coolest part. The humpbacks, the sled dogs, and then going above the Arctic Circle, which is, like I said, our main thing. Denali was cool, but it was a bus ride. You can't drive into Denali Park. You have to take the bus. You have to get a special permit in order to drive into Denali Park. That's only if you're paying to stay and camp in there or whatever, or you're hiking or something. But you can't drive your own personal vehicle into there. So we had to take a bus ride, and there was a rock slide that took out the highway. The one road that goes into Denali Park, so you can only do half of it. So it wasn't that great. So you had to get to a certain point, and then they had to turn back around. So you didn't actually do the full. It was only I can't remember. It was however many miles, 40 miles in, but it's actually a 92-mile highway.
Oh, okay.
So we only did half of it. So that was fine. But the thing is, it was also kind of overcast. So not one time did we see Denali, the actual peak.
Okay.
Mount McKinley, for people that don't know. But we didn't actually get to see the peak ever, so that kind of sucked. But so I definitely want to go back so I can at least see some stuff that I missed and didn't get to do. But highly recommend it. So that was basically my trip in a nutshell. Saw some really cool shit, met some really cool people. Pretty much everybody there that I talked to was a transplant, except for Jack. He was the only one that I met that was born and raised there. Everyone else had
only Alaskan,
right? Everyone else had visited or went there for work, and they just stayed because it's like I said, it's a massive state. There's lots to do. If you're an outdoorsy person, that's the place to be. I could not live there because the daylight thing is awesome during the summertime, but is the absolute opposite during the winter. I fucking hate being that cold, and I hate when it's dark all the time. And so it's the opposite. So during the winter, when it's cold as shit, it's also only a little bit of daylight, 2 hours a day. And you're like, fuck that. I ain't doing that.
Oh, that whole 30 days a night bullshit?
Yeah, pretty much. I could not handle that at all. So
nope, that's not for me.
No. That'd be cool to see because that's when you could see the northern lights, the best is during the wintertime. So I would like to go back during that time period just to see that, but couldn't live there.
No, I'm good. No,
couldn't do it.
Just you telling me though that cold ass temp, I'm good with.
And then I almost wanted to murder some family members.
That's called vacation.
That's called traveling with family.
That's called vacation.
Right. So that always happens. But that was pretty much it in a nutshell. And I didn't realize I'd take an hour and 20 minutes describing that. But yeah.
How long did it take you?
Well, I'm talking about an hour and 20 minutes. We're at an hour and 20 minutes.
You did a great job. I like how you said.
I think I hit everything.
I like you said. I'm just gonna hit the bullet points. I'm like, actually, that's all the points.
Yeah, exactly. I got into detail.
That's all right. It's cool. So we've done 2 trips. since the pod started. We done Vegas, and then you did Alaska.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Those, I usually don't like going to places when I visit during peak tourist season because there's just too many fucking people, and I generally don't like groups of people, right? What are you looking at Steve over? Steve over's in the corner. He's about to square you up again?
He's staring at me, yeah.
Do it, Steve.
We've had a
Fuck
really...
him up.
It's been a weird time.
Oh, he's like staring you down, too.
Well, he's falling asleep.
Oh, okay.
So...
Little bitch.
He's cool right now just because you're here. It's complicated.
It's like
he respects me enough that he knows that I'll take care of him if you're not here. But he knows that we have this weird mutual respect that like I know you could kill me, and he's like I know I could cause a lot of pain.
Right.
So
he's looking at you like you're lucky he's here.
Yeah. Like all I have to do is
wasn't in the
grab him
room,
by
I'd
the
fuck
back of
you
his
up.
neck like their moms do as their kittens, and they just totally lock up.
Oh, you can easily like get it. Like he'll probably like bite and scratch you, but you could easily get your hands on him and snap his little neck.
Oh yeah, if I couldn't kill a house cat, I need to go turn in my man card, like, bro. But yeah, like you don't. It's complicated.
Oh yeah,
he's cool.
Oh yeah, I tried to put him in his carrier one time when I was going to the vet.
Oh, it's rough.
And his back, like I had him like under the shoulders, and I was like, okay, I got him. I'm gonna get him in here. Well, he gets them back claws in there. He like took a chunk out of my fucking hand.
They hurt. Well, that's why when you watch them, if you ever watch cats fight, it's terrible to watch.
Yes.
But they immediately grab and then they just kick the shit out of each other.
It's the bottom feet, like kangaroos, and they got claws.
The shit out of each other. So there's hair everywhere. It's horrible to watch.
Bro.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
They're no joke. They actually, we watched a thing one time on, I think, Discovery or Nat Geo, one of the ones, and number one most dangerous animal was on the top was a domestic house cat. Was a house cat was one of the most dangerous animals.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm like, is it though? Because you've seen like a fucking tiger or a mountain lion. You're like, I'm pretty sure that's more dangerous. But
well, I've heard like wildlife activists and especially people who protect like bird species and stuff like that. They tell people don't let your cats out. Keep your cats indoors because they'll actually like decimate the local population of birds.
There's a feral cat problem I think in Australia and stuff where actually people go out and shoot cats because there's so many of them they'll become overpopulated. So thanks a lot, Steve.
I took his balls, so
yeah, that's why
he can't populate. And he's still so aggressive.
He is. He's all shaft.
It's all shaft. He's no balls.
No
all
balls.
Shaft.
All shaft.
I'm all balls, no shaft. Like two peas so mad. I should be angry.
You should be.
I'm the one getting not shafted. I said something gay again.
You should be getting what?
I said something gay again. I said I'm the one getting not shafted.
Yeah, well, he's been with a lot more dudes than you, so it's not a big deal.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That was one of my favorite things you have ever said.
Yeah, I know.
It was glorious.
Everyone I've talked to about that, they've been like, what did he say?
Speaking of Shaft, have you been on the news lately? Like on like Google News and stuff?
Not particularly. I just use Young Go.
So,
but we were going to talk about the...
that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah, so there was I did see this on
article.
Instagram. I didn't catch it on the news, but it was on Instagram. It was basically like NASA scientists, what does it say? Astronauts.
So it says, astronauts should not masturbate in zero gravity, NASA scientist says. So when I saw this through, I was just like, usually it's like clickbait. I'm like, no way. Right. And apparently it's like a full like article. I was like, okay, let me see.
Well, my immediate thinking was like, okay, I get maybe why they don't. So whenever you bust, there's some force behind it.
Ejaculate.
And if there's no gravity, like it can get away from you.
Well,
so you got to contain it.
So, that's what I was wondering. But it says like apparently they warn against masturbating in space over fears that female astronauts could get impregnated.
See, that's dumb.
And like how it says by stray fluids. So I'm like,
right.
But I'm like, okay, well, it's not like it's not nanomites. It doesn't like claw its way through clothing and then like impregnate.
Right,
but I'm like,
it's not like Tony Stark's nano suit where you like can form over your body and then go into your pussy.
It don't come out with like a mind of its own with arms. It's like, oh yeah, like I don't know why it sounds like the Kool-Aid guy, but it comes out, and I'm like, so I'm like, I don't think it does it. Then I'm thinking like, okay, so you're up there, and
is that where your sperms are? The Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
As soon as they come out of the shaft,
it's just one big one. Yeah,
one big sperm.
You can put like a gift shop on it. So
it's wearing a little hat.
It's got a saddle on its back, but. They said that, so I'm thinking like, okay, that means someone has gotten up there and gotten freaky.
Yeah, see, to me,
That's what that is.
It's
like,
what it sounds
quit having
like.
sex on the space station.
Exactly.
That's what
Y'all
they're
were
saying.
fucking, and you were trying to like, oh, Johnson was masturbating, and his sperm flew across
That ain't true.
the compartment and hit my pussy. And
Johnson
I'm pregnant.
and Barbara were trying to get it on at zero gravity.
That's what it is.
That's what's going on here.
That's what it is.
And don't think any male that would go up to the space station, you would not have ever
Right.
crossed your mind like, I could masturbate in space.
Right.
Like, of course you would.
Well, see, when I read the headline and they said they warned against it, I was thinking, oh, because if you nut, it's going
Yeah.
to shoot across the room and it's going to hit like some electronics, and
Well-
and all of a sudden the capsule is going to depressurize and you're all going to die.
Well, you know how hard it is to wash off like when it gets on you. Like, could you imagine when it's like
Right.
it doesn't have
like in the components?
It's like floating, and of course it looks horrible floating because you see like they'll have like soda up there and like squeeze out some Coca-Cola and it's all like
It probably looks like you see that movie
like an
Life
amoeba.
with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like, it probably looks like that alien when it was very young. It's like
Just
that's
more-
Probably, that's what
Yeah.
probably what like a collection of jizz looks
it's
like
more aggressive though.
in space.
It's
It's just pulsating.
yeah. And then like get to clean it, but I feel like they're making a bigger deal than it really is. I'm like, unless everyone's floating around naked, I don't see how they could accidentally on a stray fluid impregnate
Right.
a female astronaut. It's like it's really frowned upon. I'm like, there's no way that y'all
Right.
literally sat down with somebody like Adrian.
So I'm glad they're actually addressing this because I've actually thought about that because they're up for a guy. You can't go, and they're up there for like 6 months at a time,
If not longer.
if not longer. You can't go as a guy. You can't go 6 months without jerking off.
Well, it depends on your age. There are certain age brackets that I think you
Yeah,
can.
but these guys are like 30s, 40s. There's
okay,
there's
well,
no
30s
chance.
maybe, but like, I mean,
There's that long. Are you telling me you can go that long
I
without
could.
jerking off
In a challenge, if you challenge me, I would.
for 6 months?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't.
If you
I'm
challenge
not
me right
talking-
now, I could do it.
and you can have sex. So you're not ejaculating at all.
Yeah, if you
for 6
yeah,
months.
Yeah,
There's no way.
yeah, of course I could. If you challenge me right now, I could do it.
I'm challenging you right now.
Can we start tomorrow? Because I might get lucky tonight. I'm married, Zach. It don't happen like all the time.
That's crazy. There's no way. I mean, I can't even do the no nut November challenge.
Hell, I went. Oh, you talking about like no jerking off at all either?
None.
I'm about to say I went like almost 2 years one time without anything. I was like a monk when I was mad at every female on the planet.
Oh
Like,
yeah, and I don't get sex all the time.
understand. Well, I
I'm
meant-
talking about like, but I'm also.
I don't even think I
jerking
did that
off.
either. I don't think I did that either for almost a year. Like, I
What?
didn't do anything. Like I was just mad at the world.
Were you mad at your
Once
dick
again.
too?
No, he was fine. Still attached. I was just like,
He should be mad at you.
I was angry at everybody. I don't know. It was a weird time, but
We're gonna have to delve deep.
now
deep
going
into
up
that
and
next
going
time.
up and I could do an episode on like we get on. Yeah, that's a whole different thing. Anyways,
we're gonna swing back around.
we
to
can
that
swing back
next
around.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to find out about the driest year in your life.
Oh yeah. Shit. It's funny you say it like that.
So I gotta know more about that. That's crazy. That's
Like,
crazy to me. There's no way.
Yeah, but either way, like it would pique my interest though to go up there and not want to try it, just so I
Yes.
could come back and tell my friends like
I jerked off
I
in
drove in
space.
space, and
Yes,
it was cool.
100%.
But I feel like it'd be easier to hide it because then you could just like have like a little baggie and catch all of it,
Right. Yeah.
and then
Exactly.
just cup it and put it back. Like, but I don't know. Like, I'm sure it's weird because they're talking about like, your body acts weird and stuff. So who knows? It may
I would
be
have fun with it. I would have like a cup or something on the other end. I'm trying to like aim like I'm doing a golf shot. Just
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but trying to aim that thing and then keep your eyes open
Well,
at
that's
the
part
same
of the fun.
time. It's like trying to like keep your eyes open when you sneeze and you're driving. Like you look like Popeye. Like one eye's like kind of cracked, one's wide open. You can't keep your both eyes open. Like try it next time you finish. Keep both eyes open like this.
oh really? I don't know if I ever paid attention to that before.
Your eyes are always they're like I always look like I'm being overcome by a demon. Like
Oh well, yeah.
because you have a face you have a face you make when you're by yourself.
I don't know
doing
if I don't know if I close my eyes, but I maybe my eye like I lose
you don't
focus.
see well.
I lose
you don't
focus.
see well. Yeah,
right.
you don't see well.
Right.
But like, you have a different face. You make a different face when you're with a woman, or you have a different face when you're by yourself. Your
Right.
faces when you finish are different
Oh yeah.
because it's just how it is. Like
And also, well, it does depend on the position too. Because if you like doing doggy style, she ain't looking back. You can do whatever you want.
no, sometimes I look back. That's why you get caught. You know what I mean? You don't want to get caught with the face. 'Cause you're like,
Well, I've already
"Fuck."
told you. Apparently, I've been caught, and I make it out in public.
I have
somehow.
never made mine in public because it's probably close to like when I'm sneezing. It's probably horrible and horrific.
Right.
And they're like, don't like. You try to be serious. Sometimes you look cool. You want to look cool. Like, you don't want to be like caught like loud and like moaning loud. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to be like, oh, and then they look back and they're like, oh fuck, and like you look
Right.
just like someone just stabbed you with an icicle. Like you're just like a combination of all that pain and being freezing. Yeah, so you try to be cool about like keep a serious
Yeah.
face, but you can't. Lip
No.
starts quivering and shit.
So that was I was not expecting that headline to go that way. But
Yeah,
definitely. So jerking off in space.
Yeah.
That brings up. We got the creative juices flowing here.
Literally.
The creative dick juices, and I'm thinking, how cool would it be to jerk off in space, right?
That would be cool.
Right. So
I would do it.
That's a dream location. Like,
but what's cool is it's tangible.
But it's tangible. Actually, I saw a new thing to where they're going to start doing commercial balloon rides to space that will take you like at the highest point of the atmosphere that a weather balloon can go.
Yeah.
And it's like this giant pod that seats like 12 people, whatever the fuck. And it's like 125K.
Is that like the Mile High Club? Are you fucking a weather balloon?
Something like that.
That's a
so I'm like, I get up there, I'm like, I'm going to jerk off while I'm looking at the curvature of the earth, right?
Yeah.
Stroke the curvature of my dick.
That's true.
Right.
But my thing is it'd be hard, like, without any kind of, like, just to get one up. Like, I don't know. It would take me a long time, and then it would end up, like, probably be uncomfortable.
Well, it's like, okay, so I forgot to mention this on my my Alaska trip, is that, of course...
Did you jerk off in the RV?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't do that. Not in the RV. I had to. Okay, so here's
it was the salmon fishing.
Yeah, so we did at one point get to a let's just say, without going into details,
that's fine.
We got to a campground that has some nice facilities, and I was able to handle.
Well,
it.
of course, that's all right.
Had to handle it
because
this was later in the week, and it'd been like
it's stressful
toward the end of the week,
week.
and I was just like, fuck, I just
gotta handle this.
Exactly, I handled it. So it didn't take long. So yeah, but no. The other thing I was gonna say is like on the plane ride up there, I always think about this. Just me, I always have to take a shit at some point.
You do,
right?
Yep.
I gotta take a shit.
That's true. If you travel with Zach, you're gonna stop. You're gonna
you
stop somewhere.
I gotta take a
before
shit.
or after. You did good on the Vegas trip, though. Not when we got there, but on the plane you did great.
Plane was fine, and normally it's fine. But I on the trip from Nashville to Seattle, I was good. And it was surprising because that was the longer leg of the trip.
Sure.
Like an hour after we took off from Seattle going to Anchorage, I immediately had to take shit. I'm like, fuck. And it wasn't like, oh, hey, you should probably, take a poop. No, it was like, I'm fucking coming. You got to get up and get back there as quick as possible.
That's when that shit starts tightening up on that lower extremity.
Dude.
Oh, dude, it's the worst.
Exactly.
And rolling cramps.
Bubble guts.
Dude, it's the
I'm sitting there. I'm starting to sweat. Right. And this is the reason why I always try to pick the aisle seat, because I don't have to tell the other two people, because I got the window be like, get the fuck up now. Like I can now, if I'm in the center in the aisle seat, I can just get up casually.
Yeah,
whenever I
got a shit.
Exactly. So. I'm sitting here, and I think we have. I'm trying to I think, oh fuck, I don't have to get up. And we're also, when it hit me, we're also climbing. We're supposed to stay in our seats, but you only use the bathroom if it's an emergency. So I'm like,
so everyone's gonna know that you have to go.
And so I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, fine, all right, let's go. So I'm gonna get up, and so I look back, and they're bringing the cart up, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta wait for the cart to get past me, so that I can get past them to go to the tail to go to take a shit. So I finally get back there. And there's 3 bathrooms, 3 lavatories in the tail section of the plane.
Damn.
And dude, it is. I mean, have you ever been in one of those? It is cramped as shit.
I've never pissed.
Having to try to take a shit in this thing is annoying.
Is it worse than a porta potty?
It's way worse than a porta potty. The only good thing about it is they circulate the air so well in airplanes. You could have the worst smelling shit of your life, and no one on the plane would ever fucking know.
Thank God,
because it was sucking right out.
Could you
there.
imagine?
Right, it sucks that fart right out of your ass. So it, but it's super cramped, and of course you're sitting on this
you're already sweating.
You're already sweating. I'm already sweating and uncomfortable, and as I'm pulling my pants down, I'm afraid I'm about to shit myself, and so you're in this really tight position, and so you're trying to clean up afterwards. But you're knocking your elbow on the wall.
You almost got to wipe from the front.
You've got to go from exactly. So there's just no good way to do it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And the other thing is you're sitting there doing your business. If you're in the tail section, that's where if they hit any kind of turbulence, it's gonna affect the tail more than it will in the nose. And you're blowing your ass out, and you're also bouncing around.
Because
trying to brace yourself.
And the rolling cramp ones, when you gotta go that bad, it's not gonna be a good one.
No,
it's gonna be messy. It's gonna be hot.
Yeah,
it's the worst. And then the worst part of it is because you don't have to push; you just sit and it comes out. Because you're thinking to yourself, like, if I wouldn't have made it, this would have been on me.
Right.
And there is no amount of cleanup I can do on an airplane. This would be the worst day of my life.
Yeah, and I'm blowing it out of my ass like a shotgun blast, like a blunderbuss. It's just
It's like shit through a screen door.
Right, pretty much. And it's like multiple small explosions coming out of my ass.
Yeah.
So that's what it was like. And so
there's no wet wipes on a plane.
No. So I carried dude wipes with me. So I carried them with me. I put them in my back pocket. I handled that shit.
Good for
and
you,
it sucked it right out of the. And that was another good thing. Is like, you hit that button to flush, and it just. It's like
prison. Those are like prison toilets.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of suction that suck. I mean, you don't get an extremity down there because you might take your hand, that kind of thing. So that happened, and on the plane ride back, it ended up happening to me twice.
See,
So I did the first time. It was the same thing. I don't know what it was. I try to be really good, and I try not to eat something heavy or rich or it's gonna fuck me up on the plane. But sometimes I don't know.
Caught.
Just I don't know, the little bag of pretzels they gave you, I guess, fucked me up or something. I don't know what it was. And I ended up having to take a shit, and I got back there, and I was all good, whatever. I sat back down, and sure enough, like an hour later, I'm like, God, gotta go again. God damn it. It was just as bad the second time.
It's the worst. It hurts. And if you go twice, like your second time, your shit's already like, boiled. Right. So it's already hot to trot, and it's going to be worse.
Right.
It sucks.
Now, the thing is that nobody else is going to be able to smell it because, like I said, they got the circulation pretty good in there. But the plane is loud, but it's not that loud. And the flight attendants are, like, right there doing their prep and everything like that.
She's like...
So if I'm, like, ripping ass big time, they're going to know it. So you have to be like, try to mask it some. Try to, like, let it out easy. You don't just force it out.
It's so funny if you walked out and she's like, you all right? And you're like,
I am now.
Nothing you can say. Your face is all red.
Right.
Like, fuck.
Like, can I get another bag of pretzels?
Or a bag of ice.
For my ass.
Or an extra pillow. I need a donut for my ass.
Right. So, yeah, that was, I did have another embarrassing moment. I did actually scare the lady that was next to me because I fell asleep. I had the neck pillow and I was asleep. And I think I snorted like I was going to snore. And I was like, and I woke myself up and I moved. And so she startled her. She's like, I'm like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
I thought the plane was going down.
Right, exactly. So I like snorted and woke myself up.
It's funny you talk about, not to like jump over, but what's funny is when you talked about waking up like that. The other day, we were waking up. It was probably like 5 in the morning. And Kylie was kind of tossing and turning. I was already up, just kind of like, I didn't want to get up. And I was like, you got to get up. She rolls over. She says, hey. And she said, how do you want your eggs cooked? And I said, the fuck? How do you want your eggs cooked? And I said, what? And she's like, when I sleep. So I was like, she doesn't make, like, we don't, the go time in our house in the morning is crazy. I was like, she's not fucking serious. I was going to be like over medium 2, get up, 2 scrambled. Well, then I was like, I told her, I said, you talked to her. She's like, no, I didn't. 5 days goes by. Go back to bed. Wake up in the morning. She was like, hey. Or she's like, the turkey's ready. And I said,
gobble,
I said, here we fucking go. I was like, what? And turkey's ready. Well, just like that. I was like, what fucking turkey? And she just went to sleep. I was like, I'm waiting for the next time to be like, the butter's ready to be churned.
All right,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah, great.
Spread the jelly.
I'm like, okay. So next time I'm going to be like, okay, thank you. I'm going to go baste the chicken.
My nephew used to talk in his sleep. I remember it was one time he was over at a parent's house, and he ended up like falling asleep, taking a little nap on the floor or something like that. This was when he was like, I don't know, 8, something like that. And then all of a sudden he like woke himself up and talking in his sleep, and he said, hey, check this out. And he put his hand up and made like a platform, and he had a little stick figure like hand thing, and he made it like run and jump off his hand. And I'm like, how the fuck did you do that asleep?
You're like, you're a freak.
It's crazy.
This is Satan's work.
Like, hey, watch this. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, that whole sleepwalking thing is fucked up. That whole, that's good shit.
I remember that reminds me of another sleep thing. It was me and my brother were having a conversation with my dad in the kitchen over at his house, and we were talking about, I don't know, whatever, politics or something, life or whatever. He was telling some stories. And there was one point, my dad has a tendency to, he'll get, it's like I don't know, gets hung on words or whatever when he's like trying to collect his thoughts.
I haven't seen him do that.
It was like when he's trying to collect his thoughts or whatever. So sometimes we have like long pauses whenever he's telling a story because he's trying to get it together. And there was one point where he got hung on one at a point where he had a long pause, and we were just like waiting, and then his eyes slowly went down, and he like fell asleep sitting up. And me and my brother, we looked at each other like, did he just fucking fall asleep mid sentence?
That's amazing.
Apparently, that's what happened.
I've done that once, drunk at one of my first college parties. I was talking to a girl, and I'm still friends with her. I was talking when she married one of our fraternity brothers, and we're talking, and I was just like, and I don't drink a lot, so I'm very lightweight. You know that. You've been around me. Like, It doesn't take much. And I was sitting on the couch. We were just shooting the breeze, and I don't know. I probably didn't have that much. And all of a sudden, I was just like, yeah, it's fucking crazy. And then it got quiet, and she was just like, did you just fall asleep? And I was like, no. And like, I literally just fell asleep, sitting up, beer in hand, for like 2 minutes, and came to. And she was just looking at me like I was like an alien.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, I need to get up.
I think that's happened to you when we've been gaming before online.
Yeah. Yep. Twice.
And I'll be like talking to like Josh.
Oh yeah, dude. I've been out. Fucking controller in hand, just like dudes. I wake up and the gun's at the ground and the dude's walking in the corner.
Right. He's like,
oh yeah,
he's like
man.
pinned up against the wall, like running against the wall.
Bad. Yep.
I've never really happened to me, but if I'm tired,
Fuck, man.
That's
when
I'm going
committed.
to bed.
Like I'm like, I gotta finish these aliens, and I'm just fucking out.
But yeah, I've never seen anybody do that for mid fucking sentence. Where he's like, yeah, well, I was in Georgia last week.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's scary falling asleep doing is do your, like we were talking about jerking off and stuff. Like back in the day, you'd be, doing that and be late. I'm like, I might just get this one off. And I'll do it, finish, and then forget. And I'd fall asleep. So I'd wake up and I feel like I got molested. Like I woke up and I was like, I'd be like a mess. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened last night? And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what happened. Like I had a brief relapse. I'm like, oh, like there's no cameras in the room. Like what happened to me? But yeah.
Yeah. Fucking A.
That's good shit.
So we're at an hour and 45. We could keep going. There's something we're gonna do. The reason we were talking about the space jerk off.
Do you want to do a 15-minute?
I say let's go in and do it real quick. So this is something we were gonna segue from the from the space jerk off thing. Then I had to talk about how I just had to take a shit on the airplane. That's all right.
Shit on the airplane's cool.
So we're gonna do something a little different. We've talked about doing like a kind of a segment type thing. We're gonna actually
this is fan requested.
This is fan requested. We're gonna do a rank top 5, right? This is for Scoot. All right.
Thanks for
Scoot's
listening.
been requesting it multiple times. So we're going to do a top 5 ranking of particular topic. And this is the topic we're going to do. It's going to be top 5 best places to jerk off.
Yeah. This goes out to all the men folk. Well, female too, if you wanted to. Yeah. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Top 5 places to get yourself off.
There you go. I
by
like
yourself.
that. Yeah. Have your happy ending.
Whatever. All right, so I guess
we'll
do
go
this.
first.
We'll start with 5, we'll go to 1, and we'll alternate. I guess.
All right, got it.
All right, so my number 5 is work.
Oh, that's a place. I've never done that at work.
So I have done it at work before.
Fuck.
Not where we currently work.
Don't lie.
Seriously,
all
not
right,
where we currently work.
Got it.
But I have done it at work.
I've done
before,
other shit at the office,
especially whenever I'm, by myself on like a late shift or whatever.
You talking about that 8 to 8 shift?
Right, I'm on that late shift and I'm fucking bored out of my mind, and I'm on Instagram.
I got
you. I'm like, if I could get a wild hair, and I'm like, I got to go handle this right now. Nobody's around, so I just go to the bathroom, I handle it, and I go back to work. Right. I get my mandatory 15-minute breaks. Does it matter what I do during that 15-minute break?
Your shirt's all wrinkled.
Right.
Like, because we've had it pulled up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's drop trowel,
right,
shirt
so
cocking it, and I go for it.
So my five, and this is solo. This is not with a partner. My 5 is the bed. I don't.
You don't like the bed?
I just don't care for it particularly.
Okay.
Because that's like my place of like my wife and I. That's like my place where I go to sleep. That's where I put my head down to rest. Like I just don't. For me, I just don't like that environment.
I got you.
Now, if I happen to be in there and it's like, hey, I'm not saying I'm against the idea of it. I just it's my 5.
Okay.
It's my 5. It's
well,
the bottom dollar.
All right, because that makes me think because that's actually on my list, but it's not obviously the 5.
That's okay.
So let's go through. Let's go through our whole list because that way it makes
you go.
Makes
you
sense.
go ahead.
All right. So my number 5 is work.
Yep.
Number 4 is the car, which is kind of like work because a lot of times you're mobile.
I've never done either.
I've done it in the car before.
I'm like a rookie at this, apparently.
Yeah, I've done it in the car before. in the vehicle. I've actually never done it.
I'm
trying to think. Long time ago, like, I don't know. I was maybe I just.
I mean, I've had a
maybe I just wanted to like try different shit. I don't know, but I've actually done it while driving.
See, and I've had a penis for a while now, and I guess feel like I'm behind.
Yeah,
while you were driving.
While I was driving.
Wow,
this is a long time ago.
Like 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's fine.
Right? No, this was. I think it was.
This is
like,
going to really change the way I ride in the car.
I'm pretty sure. I think it was a teenager.
Okay.
Maybe I was 17, something like that.
So you're at your prime. You got to then. That's like the prime time.
Yeah,
like,
I think I was at that time you can get a boner at any moment.
Oh, dude, anytime.
Right. And so I ended up getting on a long drive back from somewhere, I think Nashville maybe, and just
and that was
it.
the year too. I lost my V card, so like everything was like 6 to midnight.
Exactly. Right. And so I was like, I'm just gonna handle this shit right here.
Yeah,
so I was
take care
driving
of
down the interstate and just.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
At 75 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour.
75. I made sure I
you
did
had to
the
keep
speed
your
limit.
eyes open.
I set it on cruise, and I didn't want to have to like constantly like stop because I was going too fast. So I set it on a lower speed, set it to cruise, and that way I could just.
Did
not
you
have
pull
to worry
over
about
to clean
anybody in
up,
front
or
of me.
did you have to put your knee on the wheel?
Well, I had like like
a sock
napkins or
something?
whatever, and I just kind of
want something too abrasive,
right? And I kind of how you drive with your knees. When I was about to, I just popped my knee up to hold this wheel steady.
That's what I'm saying.
And just into
I don't know why you grunt so loud when you jizz.
Well, I'm just for the audience.
I'm just kidding. I know. Yeah,
right?
so they know that you grunt when you jizz.
So they know that this is the moment.
So if you hear, he's about to come.
This is the moment. That's the money shot. And so
you make it sound painful. Like it's not.
So I just like fucking nutted into some Wendy's napkins or
See,
some
that's
shit.
what I'm worried about because some of them napkins are really abrasive. You don't want to be grazing that tip with some sandpaper.
Oh yeah, well I mean,
Gotta be easy.
I'm shooting it.
All right, that's cool.
I didn't have a whole lot of cleanup to do. I was very surgical about it.
Well, you couldn't afford nice napkins. You're 17,
right?
Like, I mean, you can't.
Right. No,
Wendy's is as good as it gets.
I was collecting different napkins, so from different places, I would always have the extra napkins,
I do that now.
And I put them in the keep.
Makes total sense.
I do the same thing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Especially Chipotle, they'll let you take like
and
a whole
forks.
thing of napkins and forks and everything.
Wonderful silverware.
Right.
Shout out Chipotle. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, so that's number 4. All right, so number 3 is like a lazy boy or a couch, right? You're
sitting
in the
a
living
lazy
room,
boy or a couch.
lazy boy or a couch. So I'm thinking like
you're talking about recliner
well,
status.
so if I don't have a recliner, I prefer to do a recliner. But if I don't have a recliner currently, then I'll just on the couch. I kind of lay back.
Because
you're still in the same kind of seated position on a couch, even though you don't have your feet kicked up. I don't know. You can I put my feet up on the coffee table.
Yeah, that's if you're more towards the end of it. I want to put my feet up.
But you're like in a seated, more comfortable position than you were like in your car.
Because you want your legs elevated. If it's if it gets real cray, I'm my recliner. I go into the recline mode, and then as you can actually lean it farther back in your Papa Bear chair, that's when you get towards the V strokes, and you got to really. You really want to, you want to finish strong.
Right, yeah.
You lean that thing all the way back.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem is it makes a lot of noise, and then you're really vulnerable in that position.
Yeah, and see that's
and my chair spins.
Right.
So if I accidentally nudge the wrong way, it'll start spinning, which then feels like it's like some kind of weird like I put a quarter in some weird fucked up machine, and I got to spin now.
So that's my number 3. I think it's one of those. You're in a seated position. You're in kind of semi-seated position, but you can get really super comfortable. But the reason why it's lower on the list for me is because I feel like I'm out in the open. Yeah. So at any point somebody like could knock or like walk into my house, and I can't. I have to run across the kitchen in order to escape. It's just I feel more exposed, so I don't dig it.
Oh yeah, and then
So it's definitely lower. Of course, obviously these are mostly based on my level of escape. So if I'm at work, like that's taboo. Like I should be like jerking off when my boss shows up, or like something emergency happens and I'm in there fucking stroking my dick, and like an outage happens and like it's an emergency. Like, why didn't you answer the phone?
You'll be
like,
so much more relaxed. You'll be all slurring your words, like
yeah, right, or something like that. Right. So that's a dangerous situation to be in.
Which makes it more
right. So that's the reason it's lower on the list.
That's why it's more attractive.
But it also has that a factor, right? And same thing for the car. Like, it's a good, like
you could kill yourself.
Well, the thing is, you definitely want to do this whenever you're in a truck, especially a lifted truck. You don't want to do this when you're like in a sports car where you're low to the ground. Yeah. Make sure nobody's driving around you while that's happening. So that's the reason, like interstate driving in a big truck is probably the best thing.
All right.
And so you stay. Don't let people and also drive a little bit slower. Put it on on cruise, so that way people just blow right past you and
as you blow past
as I blow into the Wendy's napkin.
Got it.
Right.
All right.
So and then lazy boy couch again. Like I'm in my home, but somebody could just like kick in my door. It's a lot like the shower thing, to where I'm exposed now. I'm naked and wet. Like what am I going to do? Well, I'm also I've got my shorts around my ankles and I got my cock in my hand and somebody kicks in my door, what am I going to do? Right? You're very vulnerable, and so I don't like it. All right, so number 2 is desk chair. I distinguish this differently because this is business. The other one is leisure area.
Okay, yeah.
This is a business. I'm in a desk chair at home, right?
Okay.
And it's also computer and everything right in front of me.
Yeah.
I've got a
Sound,
desk right in front of me, so
it's
I can
comfortable.
have my facilities and all my things that I need for
Wendy's
my jerk off
napkins in the
sesh.
house.
Wendy's napkins. Well, this is probably going to be a little more tissues.
Okay.
Something something with some moisture, some moisterizing. Aloe
Yeah,
with them.
sure.
Right. So I don't abrase my dick.
I understand.
Right?
You want to take care of it.
So I think the addition of the desk is the reason why I say like desk chair desk is my number 2 because it's a good comfortable position. I've got everything right within arm's reach, and also, usually that's in an office, so it's in the corner building. I can shut the doors. They're not going to have me through traffic. Right.
That makes sense.
I kind of like that.
I can appreciate that.
Right, and of course, number 1. I'm sorry, I'm a traditionalist. Even though I jerk off in my car, apparently.
I don't know what tradition is, but can't wait to hear this shit.
Still traditional bedroom. I think it's the best spot.
Okay, all right.
I think you're obviously the most.
So
comfortable.
my 5 was your 1.
Yes. You have all the comforts around you. You're in a horizontal position, so you're already immediately in a sex position, right?
Okay.
And quote sex position, and the
your
downside to it is because you're in a horizontal position. Catching it is a little can be weird. So you either have to just nut on your stomach.
No, you can just put a sock on the end of it.
Do
just
something
catch
like
it.
that.
Yeah, man. You
Right.
just got to know what you're.
So, but you're in the most comfortable position. And
I'm
also,
a vet at this.
Also, I like it because as soon as I get past the vinegar strokes and I nut, immediately tired, I can go right to sleep.
And have the best sleep of your life.
Best sleep. That's the best fucking 20-minute nap.
Okay, so we're a little different there. Okay.
So that's the reason that's my number 1 is in the bedrooms because I don't have to move to go to sleep after I've busted.
So,
I can just fall asleep right there.
So bed was my 5, bedroom. Yep. So we're totally opposite. 4 was the couch, a couch.
Okay.
the whole.
So you said specifically couch, but
specifically a couch.
You sit couch? Or
I've tried it
lay
both.
on the couch?
I've tried it both, and it's just not for me. I'm not a couch person in general.
Okay.
So I don't do the couch thing. It just weirds me out. And then if you sit just wrong, you'll sleep between the cushions, and then I feel it's not welcoming. I don't like it. My 3 was hotel rooms.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't think about that.
What I like about it is not that I have some kind of fetish. I don't first run in there woo, I'm free, and I just put all over the new sheets. There's something about that, traveling not abroad but state to state wherever I go. I'm I need to. That way I can say I did that here.
Right.
So I just, for some reason, it's exciting to me that I'm that's the first thing, when we got to Vegas, I was I put all my clothes down, I was just
I've busted a nut in this city, and this city,
yeah,
and this
and because
city.
I want to say I did that in Vegas.
Right.
So I was of course I did.
Right.
So, of course, hotel rooms is my 3. I don't know, there's something about it that it's just cool. I don't know, I'm weird.
I got you, yeah.
Let's see, what was that?
I guess that would be
3? 3 was my hotel room.
The 3 was hotel room.
2 is the recliner.
Okay.
2 is the recliner. And I didn't know that until a couple of years ago. I found out. Well, I bought my first recliner when we moved into this house. I was I gotta have a recliner. Everybody's gotta have one. It's a man thing, I guess. Whatever.
Does Kylie know this is your jerk off spot?
I don't care. She knows. I've told her before. She was like, "Oh my God, you're thick."
Did she sit in the chair?
They have before.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't jizz on the chair. I don't leave my seat all over the chair hardened up like a glazed donut. No, man. I clean it's no. I'm good. I'm a professional. Been doing this a long time.
Exactly. You're surgical about it.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time.
Exactly.
So I was well, because it's one of the things where you sit down and you're as a dude, you can't help it. You'll sit down and you'll be how could I probably jerk off in this thing?
Right.
You can't. And then so I was So when I was let me try it. So then of course it reclines back, but mine's loud, so I have to be careful. You can't get too into it. You can't start phantom pumping in the air and shit. It's because be one of them times because there's 2 doors in my living room, so it'd be horrible. Obviously, if my daughter happened to get up that night, I didn't hear it because when you're in the you don't hear shit.
Right. Yeah.
I could just because Kylie being the way she is, she would be the one that would not let me know she's there and let me finish, and then have her phone up just you look like a jackass and have it ready, and then I'd be mortified. I'd be oh my God, and she'd be laughing her ass off. So
I was just thinking about furniture shopping. You know how that if you ever gone out furniture shopping?
Oh, of course.
And they're oh, what do you think about this chair? And you're oh, give it a spin, give it give it a ride.
Then
and then you, what if you're just like, I guess I'll give it a ride, and you sit down and you just
I start simulating it. Like,
oh yeah,
how's it look from here?
I like this.
Feels good.
Good.
Doesn't hit my elbow.
You like hit the handle and kick your feet up.
Or it vibrates, and I'm like,
Right,
this is
like,
going to
oh,
be
yeah,
great when I
this
get
is awesome.
home. And everybody's like, fuck. Just trying to make a sale. That was number 2. Number 1 is the bathroom.
Yeah, see, that was going to be my
Number
honorable
1
mention.
is my bathroom. And the reason so is because it's a one-stop shop. Because typically, it's usually, obviously, before I get in the shower, if it's been a long day, like I'm just like, I'm about to get cleaned up. I'm like, it's just time to get this one out. Because everything's already there. You've got great internet access. The room's already, usually the door's already locked.
Great acoustics.
The door's already locked. And it's already, just don't walk by the mirror because lighting in a bathroom sometimes is scary if you're naked.
Everything's like tile. And
Everything's tile.
easy to clean up.
And then also you can turn the shower on if you have a family that's busy. Turn the shower and let the water running. That way nobody can hear you if doing your thing when you hit your peak.
And also you got a locked door, so it's not weird to have a locked door
In a bathroom. Totally normal.
Totally normal.
And then also you can straddle the toilet seat if you have to pan down when you're about to finish. You can aim it into the bowl.
Boom, gone.
Boom, gone, flush. And if you have soft sharp, however, however you want to clean your tip, you got it all ready right there. It's
true.
It's the best place to do it.
I think it's like a NASCAR pit stop.
It really is
for jerking
and
off.
you're already naked if you're already in the shower.
That's
because
true.
For some reason I don't like. I have to have them off. Like I don't know. That whole thing's weird to me out when you like half mass them. I'm like I can't bow my legs out. Like it's just uncomfortable. Like,
I gotcha.
And you already look like an alien when you do it anyways. So I want to be comfortable.
I got you. That bathroom would be my honorable mention for that reason.
Yeah.
But it's uncomfortable while I'm doing it.
My honorable mention
That's
would
the reason
probably
I
be
don't
a
like
desk chair.
I don't like
honorable mention will be a desk chair.
Desk chair.
You were onto something there. I've done that at a desk chair too.
Because it has the same kind of things as the bathroom. Because everything you can make it where everything's close to you, but it's a little more dangerous because you got some sensitive electronics like your computer and your laptop.
Well, that and it's also depending on what kind of chair you have, your ass sticks to it.
That
like,
too.
Not that you're like profusely sweating in the act, but
you have to have the right chair.
Right chair.
Right. Of course, you can always I don't know if you're worried about like your ass sticking to it. If you have like a leather chair, you could.
I would say
the
bedroom and bathroom. That's probably the majority of where everybody goes.
Yeah, I'd say that's
but your car thing really fucked me up. That whole thing is really that's impressive.
Yep. So a couple of other places that I guess we have our top 5. But I've actually I've jerked off outside before, just like outside. Like in my backyard.
I really need to step up. This house?
No, not this house.
I was say
my neighbor was backed up right next to me. He would
dude,
see me. Hell's no.
He's always got his shirt off mowing. Like this is not
different
good.
place. Yeah. So I've jerked off outside.
Okay.
There's something very primal about that.
Yeah. Well, you feel like you should growl.
Well, there's like breeze,
start howling at the moon.
Of course, it's at night. I'm not doing this in the middle of the day. I'm not. It's weird.
That's 5 to 10.
That's a little too much.
Yeah.
There's nobody around. I'm nobody behind me. Nobody can see it. Whatever. There's but except for all the like woodland creatures, like there's a bird flying around and you can see me like
yeah, he's coaching you.
Right. And he just he lands on my shoulder and starts saying,
"Keep it up.
Like you're doing a good job."
Yeah, that'd be encouraging.
But so I've done that before.
That's impressive. I feel like I need to step my game up.
Some other weird spots. I think that might be it. I think work car and outside.
The work one, I've never done the work one. That's
done the work
that's
before.
impressive.
I've done the work one before. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there has been a job that I have.
I have never done that at work.
I think I may count how many jobs. I think like I've had a lot of jobs, so I've had like 16 different jobs.
I've had a bunch of jobs too, but just
I think
none
half
like,
of them.
You can't jerk off at Quiznos.
I've jerked off at half
you know
of
what I mean?
them. Probably.
That's impressive. Wow. This is really going to help your dating profile.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be like, he can multitask like a sumbitch.
Exactly. And I'm always ready to go.
And you're always ready to go. You're a sure thing.
I'm ready at a moment's notice.
I think that's great.
Exactly. There will be no situation where I cannot be ready.
Well, you know who I
want
want you to marry. Like I've already told you a million times. I tell Kylie almost every day. There's a girl I have picked out on Instagram that I want you to marry just because she seems like she'd be fun as fuck. Y'all get along really well.
Oh, yeah.
You know who it is. It's that girl from Mean Girl Pod.
Oh, I think you told me that.
It's the brunette. I think.
Yeah.
100% of the time I watch their show, I'm like,
maybe.
Yeah.
Hit that up. She'll make me famous.
Well, not even that. I think it would be. She just seems like fucking cool. So
that's true. I
told Kyle, I was like, "This is the one." She's like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "I don't remember her name."
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Yeah, you've seen her before. I don't. Not there. Listen,
you have to show
right
me.
here. Her name's Jordan. Hold on. Jordan Woodruff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's your cup of tea.
Is it?
We'll talk about it after the show.
Okay. We'll slide into them DMs.
So, You could. Well, I don't know if you would. I don't. She might. Maybe. She has 66,000 followers, so you could maybe try to get in there.
Yeah, I'll be like one of 20,000.
Yeah, but you could be the one.
How am I going to stick out? I'll link to this specific clip of this that
Exactly.
we just did the top 5, and she'll be like, I'm all about that.
I'm all about that jerking off in the car.
Exactly. This guy's adventurous. He jerks off everywhere.
This is incredible. Like that one lady told you were adventurous. Remember that?
Right. Yeah.
You have strike 2 now for adventurous.
Right.
Fuck man, you're a home run.
Oh god dang. All right, so we did a top 5.
That's top 5.
We did it. We
Scoot
did a rank.
is going to really appreciate that.
Enjoy it, Scoot. This just for you.
Just for you.
So,
what are we at, like 4 hours right now?
We give what the fans what they want. We're over 2 hours. We're actually about to hit the 2 hour mark.
It's a good comeback for sure.
Yeah, I think that was good. I think going a little bit longer than we normally do was worth it to get that in there.
I agree. Well, and not only that, we haven't done this. We're 2 episodes behind.
Right.
So
who doesn't love 2 guys talking about jerking off?
that's true.
It's the best thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I guess we don't have anything else. We'll just
wrap it up, man, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, we're gonna
We'll hear us next week.
We'll do a little better next time if we know that we're not going to record. We'll like give a little forewarning.
Yeah. And that's that was kind of a
and the lost episode. We'll say whenever I was in Alaska and you recorded with Kylie, we'll look at it and I might.
Yeah, I'll look at it
6 months later or something.
She did great. Like she felt terrible afterward, but I told her I was like, it's not you.
Yeah.
If I feel off. Because I'm proud of the show. Like I enjoy doing this. I want it to really work and go somewhere maybe one day. Even if it doesn't, I like the idea that it could. So when I'm off, I feel like I'm not doing my job the right way. And so it just feels off.
And we've gone through this enough to where it was in the early times. It takes a minute to you can't just go in cold.
Even now
even now when we do our sound checks, we're warming up. We don't just go in cold. Most of the time. So you can't. It takes a bit to get used to having the mic.
What we might do though, and Zach mentioned it. We talked about it before. Was have a third come in on certain episodes and try to mix up the dynamic.
We'll bring in a third, and so that way we can get some different perspectives instead of just us two.
Yeah.
Try something different.
Yeah.
But we'll keep you guys abreast of the situation if we ever have to skip a week for whatever reason. Because the thing is, we plan. We've got our work lives, we've got our personal lives, and we plan to record a certain day. And but sometimes stuff happens, and so we don't have a lot of buffer. It's not like we can go back in time and record. So we have to. If we miss that recording day, then we won't be able to get it out on a Monday. Yeah. But we'll do a little bit better about if something like that happens. Then we'll let you guys know. We'll push out the episode on like a Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that.
Yeah,
so, stay tuned, but go like, subscribe, follow, share,
comment.
10,000 people.
10,000 people a day.
Per day for 30 days, and then I will love you forever. All right, peace, y'all.
Every weekend, coming at you.